Everyone, we're here for Ruby Frankie and Jodi Hildebrandt sentencing today. I'm just trying to get everything set up really quick. But hello, hope you guys are doing well. Happy morning. Let me just do my Discord stuff. If you guys haven't already, join us on the Discord. Notifications are out. And yeah, make sure you guys have your bell on too as well. We're gonna stream it live on Twitch and on YouTube as usual. Sorry, I haven't had my breakfast yet. I'm starving. And then let's have Law and Crime. I think they have a stream up. I don't know. I looked to see if KUTV had a stream up. I don't think they do right now. Hi, Daniela. How are you doing today? Good morning. Or I guess, hold on a second. Shit. Hi, Lisa. Good morning. How are you doing today? Oh, yeah, let's do this. Okay, I think this is good. Give me 1 second. Let me get a drink. Oh, wait, no, the drink. Hi, Brandon. Good morning. Hi, Christine. Taxi. Hello. Should I do a poll? What do y'all think the women are going to get for their sentencing? They're facing max 60 years each. Because remember, they did a plea deal. But, you know, I don't think they're going to get... I don't know. I don't think they're going to get more than 10, to be honest. Brandon, thank you so much. Oh, I can like that now? Brandon, thank you so much for the 199. Corgi gang, let's go. Hi, Crystal. How are you doing? Oh, let me make sure my audio is good. Ooh, we got some rain ASMR going on today. It's raining over there in Utah. You don't even think 10. All right, let's do a poll. What should I start? Let's see. Hold on. We'll start with how many years?
To put us up to speed. So, Sierra, welcome. What do you got for us?
Well, Bob, today is Judgment Day for Ruby Frankie and her partner in business and crime, Jodi Hildebrandt, here at the Washington County Courthouse in St. George, Utah. You've heard the story before. Last August, the pair were arrested after a young boy broke free from duct tape shackles and called 911. That boy was Ruby Frankie's son, and along with his sister, Ruby Frankie's youngest daughter, they suffered months of abuse. But okay, a lot has changed since then. Originally, it was 6 counts of aggravated child abuse per defendant. But when Ruby Frankie pleaded guilty in December and then Jodi Hildebrandt shortly thereafter, those charges changed from 6 to 4. And that kind of brings us up to speed where we are today. That is what is going to happen here behind me at the courthouse. Actually, the sentencing hearing just began. Each woman has pleaded guilty to those multiple counts, and we're expecting to hear more information. But the big question we have on our hands is, how long will they spend behind bars? Well, we don't know. You heard that right. We don't know. Today, the judge is not going to give us an official number, anything like that. The big thing we'll learn today, though, is whether those sentences will run concurrently or consecutively, though we do expect to learn more details from inside the courtroom today.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I mean,
it's just the parole board, I heard.
Really like a fascinating case, and I was talking to the producer about this before we went on.
I heard it's up to the parole board, but I thought we would find out today. Damn, she's so good at her job. Look at that. She did that flawlessly. So we're not going to find out how many years today. We're just going to get more details. Okay, I guess.
On air, and I think that, you know, you're there. You've got the feel of it. I think the reason why this has caught the nation's attention is both the backgrounds of these individuals, their seemingly normal life, the fact that Frankie in particular had a very successful YouTube channel where she's giving advice about how to raise your children. So there's such, I don't know if you use the word hypocrisy or just shock. What do you sense out there as the community's feeling? Is that why this case has caught people's attention, because of the things I'm mentioning, or something else?
You know, Bob, I have spoken to multiple people here in St. George. It's kind of a tight-knit community. A lot of people here are LDS, too, which is what both Ruby Frankie and Jodi Hildebrandt practice. So it is something that shocked a lot of people because this is a wholesome area of the country. You know, not a lot of drinking, a lot of emphasis on family time. And so I think that's really part of it, is just the shock of something like this you don't expect to see in a small-ish town like this. I was just talking to people actually right before I came on air with you, and it's still months later, people are still shocked by the details.
Yeah. So what do we expect to hear from either of the defendants, Ruby or Jodi, and or any of the children as part of a victim impact statement?
Okay, I'm glad that you asked this. Right now, we don't know, but are hoping to learn soon. So we could hear a victim impact statement from Jodi or from Ruby, either of them. As for the children, we're unclear. I actually want to read you a text that I received yesterday. This is from Kevin Frankie's attorney. So I reached out to him and was wondering whether Kevin Frankie was actually going to appear, if there was going to be any sort of victim impact statement from him or the children. And I want to read this because it's very interesting. He said, "Neither Kevin nor I will be making formal statements to the press, nor will Kevin be making a victim impact statement.
Why?
Since the kids are still in the custody of Utah DCFS, which is juvenile care, foster care, I suspect that neither will they be. Our only comment is that we trust the judge to sentence them both to 1 to 15."
Wait, why won't Kevin make a victim impact statement? Wouldn't he want to advocate for his children? Hello? Shock and disgust. Very Charlie's Angel. Oh my God, I love that movie. Hi, Lisette. How are you doing today? I think half the town doesn't think she did anything wrong too. Just a family matter. No, please, no, don't say that. I'm gonna get triggered. Kevin's just as guilty. I am confused why he's not giving a victim impact statement. You think Jodi will get more? Possibly, but I think like if Jodi gets more, it'll be like a tiny bit more. I don't think it'll be like a difference in like 10 years, 7 years, you know?
Years for each of the 4 counts to run consecutively. Then it will be up to the Utah State Board of Pardons to decide if that will be shortened or other conditions imposed. Now, here's the part that I really want you to pay attention to. Pardons to for each of the 4 counts to run consecutively. Then it will be up to the Utah State Board of Pardons to decide if that will be shortened or other conditions imposed. Now, here's the part that I really want you to pay attention to. The treatment these children received at the hands of those who the children had a right to trust was horrific and inhumane both physically and psychologically. Kevin, Ruby's estranged husband, remains focused on the rehabilitation of these sweet and vulnerable children so that they might return to a normal life as soon as possible.
Well, Sierra, you're bringing up a couple of things now. We're going back and forth.
Listen, I hope Kevin makes a change. I don't know. I hope he changes for the sake of his children. Can you put a poll how many years they should get? I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. But what I'm curious about is what you guys think they will get. I don't know. A lot of cases regarding abuse of children, I feel like the sentencing is usually pretty disappointing. You know, I don't know. Like, unless the child, of course, becomes murdered, then that's when it gets really heavy. But as long as there's no murder that happens, the sentencing to me is always like, I feel like disappointing. But I mean, how many cases have you seen so far? I guess not much, but
Real good here, like a little bit like a tennis match. Okay, that's a beautiful laudatory statement. Okay. But let's talk about Kevin Frankie himself. This is the father. This is the husband of the defendant. He was living in the home during some of the time that these events were alleged to have occurred. No.
So this is where things are kind of complicated. Utah is a great big state. I'm right down at the bottom in Washington County, and that's where this abuse allegedly happened, actually about 20 minutes from where I am right now in Ivins. But Kevin Frankie was north in the Frankie family home in Springville. That's closer to Salt Lake City. Now, ahead of all of this, because this all happened back in 2023, they were separated. But that was not the first time that Ruby Frankie ran into controversy with her parenting tactics, let's say. So Kevin Frankie was around for some of that when the police had been called up in northern Utah. But as for this abuse that the sentencing is for today, he says he knew nothing about it.
Yeah, and do you anticipate, I'm just asking you to speculate here, Sierra, that maybe he's not going to make a statement because he's concerned that he could potentially face some criminal law liability should he say something wrong?
I think that's an interesting point that you make. I have been in contact with his attorney for months now, really since this happened, and they have stayed kind of tight-lipped. The information that I have gotten, though, is that he wants to remain even-keeled. He says that it is his #1 goal to have custody of all his children. As I said, they're in foster care right now. So I really think that he's just doing his best to stay the course, you know, to do the best he can to have those children back. I don't know that he actually will face charges, but that's obviously something we're going to have to follow.
I don't think they're gonna. I don't know. From what we know so far, if they were truly separated during the times when the kids were under the hands of Jodi and Ruby, I don't think they're gonna go after him. I think like all that YouTube stuff. No, I don't think they're gonna go after him for that.
And see if it does develop.
Yeah, it's here also with respect to the mom. I mean, she's being...
Unless, you know, I don't know. Because remember, Frankie, she got a hold of like the laptops and all this stuff. Unless there was evidence on there that maybe showed that his father was somehow complicit in all this. But I mean, just for the YouTube stuff, if there's no other extra evidence, I don't know. I just feel like they just won't go after it. Torment and tortures on a parent scale was demented. Yeah, because again, remember, Ruby Frankie in the court doc, it said that she kicked her children with steel boots on. She made them stand outside in the sun with like no water, no sunblock, no shoes on or something. Some of the kids, they went through like solitary confinement. I mean, I don't really know how to divide who did what, Jodi versus Ruby. I feel like both probably participated in both of them. But yeah, it's just fucking awful.
Charged now. Obviously, she's going to be sentenced to potentially, it seems like state prison for sure. It's just a question of...
Oh, yeah, hot pepper on the wounds. Yeah, I mean, I know like the internet was saying that like, oh, you know, honey can be used as like an archaic way to heal your wounds. But I'm like, wait, honey and like pepper? What? Is that a thing? That sounds torturous. The way they sentence abusive parents, I think it should be taken into more account with this little thing, the thing that kids have to go through. Oh yeah, and battle live the rest of their lives. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like, I'm still really salty over like the Tim Ferritter case. Ugh.
How long a period of time? Do we know whether or not she's asserting any rights to have at least visitation, whether it be supervised or otherwise, when she gets out? What are her parental rights stand now?
I don't know. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if after all of this, if Kevin ends up maybe going back to Ruby Frankie, or I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin, you know, let's say Kevin gets custody of the kids, Ruby fights to get, you know, visitation and he grants it. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I really trust Kevin. It's not that I know him or anything, but from what we heard so far about Kevin, like, you didn't see your children for how many months? You claim that you didn't see them for like, what, 8 months plus, maybe a year or something like that? Like, you didn't call them, check on them, FaceTime? I don't know. Ugh. I don't know. Sometimes when kids have one extremely abusive parent, there might be the other one that doesn't really do enough to protect you. I mean, maybe they're both abusive, but I don't know if I really trust Kevin. But I hope for the sake of the kids, I hope he does make a huge fucking change. And I hope, you know, he doesn't end up disappointing them in the future. And I hope he protects them. I hope. But we'll see. Hi, Edward. How are you doing today? Because I think it's really tough for kids to not be raised by their parents. Sometimes like going into like foster care, that could be really tough. Sometimes going with relatives, you know, what if the relatives don't want you? I don't know. And I know like a lot of their relatives, they already have like large families anyways. Like imagine joining a family where there's already like 5 kids running around. You're just like the 7th and 8th kid, you know? I don't know. Like I understand why they always want to put the kids back with the parents, but sometimes you just have really horrible parents and being with them is just so detrimental. Is the sentencing happening right now?
Okay.
Yeah, but we ain't got no cameras in there.
This is kind of interesting. There's a lot of question marks in this case still, so we don't know all of the details this exact moment. But what I do know, after Ruby Frankie serves her time, however long that may be, she will continue to be monitored by the Utah Division of Children and Family Services, so forever she's going to be watched. And as for her relationship with her children, there's no law that says they have to maintain contact with their mom. She won't have custody of them anymore, so I think it's really up to the children and their father whether they will actually see Ruby Frankie or Jodi Hildebrandt in the future. That still remains to be seen.
All right, Sierra, let's let our audience understand, and maybe you can educate me as well. I mean, we've read the articles. You know this case inside and out. You're out there. You got the feel of what's going on. How does this all happen? I mean, Frankie has got this website. According to the article, she gets this involvement with Hildebrandt. Hildebrandt's kind of like a life coach-ish kind of person. They form this relationship. And Frankie, I think, has suggested that she was influenced by Hildebrandt. Talk to us a little bit more about Hildebrandt. Who is she? Is she some sort of Svengali or some kind of person that can cause somebody to go from a good, decent, law-abiding citizen and mom to a child abuser facing state prison? What do we know about her?
There are a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding Jodi Hildebrandt, so it's hard to decipher what's real and what isn't, but a lot of the things we know are shocking that we actually can confirm. Now, what you mentioned talking about Ruby Franke pointing the finger at Jodi Hildebrandt, that's accurate. I mean, when she pleaded guilty back in December, we heard a lot of those details, and it almost sounded as if Ruby was saying that she was brainwashed by Jodi. Now, Jodi is this almost self-proclaimed guru who was a therapist to multiple couples, and that's actually what happened with Ruby Franke and her husband, Kevin. According to Kevin's attorney, when I talked to him, this therapy was not very traditional. She said that the family needed to be separated, that the children shouldn't see their father, a lot of things like that, not traditional as far as therapy goes. But in addition to the other things, these allegations of abuse, now that she's pleaded guilty to, we actually have spoken.
Yeah, I tried reading her book and I was like, what the fuck is this? What is this? Like, I usually am pretty good at reading things without like, I can just read things, right? But like when I was reading her book, I was like, I can't finish this. No, I can't. There's just too much crap in here.
With her niece, Jessie, who has actually been on Law and Crime multiple times, she echoed similar things to those court documents, talking about the abuse at the hands of Jodi.
Jessie.
So this is a trend we've almost seen from her, that she, over the years, has continued this child abuse.
Okay, and listen, what is the reaction out there in terms of the community very involved, very put back about all this? This is a very unusual case, even by national standards. What's it like out there? Is there lots of media? Are there a lot of people? What's the scene feel like?
Out here today, I'm just looking around now. We have a couple of different cameras that are out. The sentencing hearing is actually happening right now behind me. So there are multiple reporters, including our executive producer, inside in the courtroom. We are all setting up in case anything happens. Who's to say? There could be a press conference, new information coming out. So there are national and local media coverage here. But as far as the people who live here in southern Utah, the ones that I've spoke to, some have been hesitant to comment at all. They don't want to talk about the case. Those who I have spoken to,
Let's see. Kevin is crying in the gallery. Ruby, Kevin, you are the love of my life.
who are rather outspoken, still say they're shocked by it. I mean, like you said, this is something shocking nationally, even globally, I would say, but not something that you expect in a small town like this. So I do think it's still making shockwaves throughout the community.
Yeah, I just wanted, before we take a little bit of a detour, or maybe this.
In any religion, I'm sure that you would know, but I don't believe that the LDS Church has come out and made a giant statement about this. I'm sure that they are against any sort of child abuse or any of the charges that either of these women face, but I don't believe that they have a giant hand in what's at play here.
All right, well, listen, great reporting. Really appreciate it, Sierra. We're going to stay with this.
In the past, in those court documents, that the children believed they were evil, that they were possessed, that they had to endure this torture in order to repent and have their sins forgiven. Now, Ruby's oldest daughter, Sherry, is also here. Ruby said these words, quote, "Kevin, you are the love of my life," and Kevin is crying. So that's what is happening right now behind me in the courthouse.
All right, well, let's bring in Lauren Matthias with us as the journalist and host of The Hidden True Crime. Lauren, can you give us an idea of what's going on in that courtroom right now? It sounds to me like it's the lawyers trying to justify to the judge the plea agreement so that the judge accepts the plea and goes forward with sentencing. What's your thoughts?
Ooh, sorry, the audio is a little bit staticky.
It's interesting to hear that Chad is there as well as Kevin, and that Kevin is crying. Sierra really set the stage there for what's going on and the emotion in that courtroom. I think that what what we're going to learn today is it going to be consecutive? And I think that that's what everybody is waiting with bated breath and wanting to know. And it sounds like we're going to find out. Let's see.
Yeah, well, Lauren, Hidden True Crime podcast, Hidden True Crime. Let's talk about.
I thought part of the plea deal was that it was going to be consecutive. I could have sworn I heard the prosecutor say that, right? But what they're saying now is today they're going to determine, or the judge is going to determine whether it's going to be consecutive or concurrent. And then later on, we'll find out how many years.
about that issue because, a lot of the cases that I've handled as a prosecutor, they weren't really hidden. They came right out and were right in front of you, murder cases, things of that nature. This was something where a crime was literally lying in wait. It was being hidden from the public under the veneer of these individuals who were telling people what to do to raise their children, properly. And yet the level of abuse that we find out was going on here was quite amazing.
Okay, what do we have on the poll? We have 16% says 0 to 5 years, 31% says 5 to 10 years, 25% says 10 to 15 years, and 28% says 15 plus years. I saw someone in the long crime chat say 40 years, and I was like, no way any of the women are gonna get 40 years. Absolutely not. I don't believe it. Even though they're facing 60 years each. I don't know. 40 years, no.
And that they thought that they were, and that Jodi Hildebrandt, a therapist who's in a position of power.
Someone you're chatting. Remember Rita Pangalangalang? I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Rita Pangalangalang. She was the one who left her child in a hot car for 6 hours, and her judge was Judge Newman, and he sentenced her to 40 years, maybe plus. And that was a really super sad case. I was watching it on my own because I don't know, it was very interesting. But what was really sad and harrowing about that was seeing the footage. Literally, the guy, the boyfriend that she was arguing with, had a footage or a camera footage thing where he was. You could see them both fighting, and then you see them both leaving the child in a hot car. The windows are up. The sun is beaming on the car, and they're going back and forth fighting. They disappear for an hour and a half to go have sex. Gross. And then they come back and they start fighting again. And then when they realize that the child has been stuck in the car for about 3 to 4 hours now, they took their time trying to, I don't know, you would bash the windows in to get your child out. they were I don't know what the hell they were doing. They were trying to get the keys or trying to find it, and then disappear for 45 minutes to an hour to go God knows where, maybe Home Depot to get some tools. It's what did you just bash the windows in? When did you call 911? And of course, by the time they came back, the child was deceased. It was super sad. Oh God. And then, oh my God, the sentencing part was just so annoying. She goes out there. She's I want the minimum. Bose watched this yesterday, and that's why I'm all refreshed about it. God, that case was so aggravating. But yeah, she got 40 years ish. So I don't think Jodi's gonna get anywhere near that. I don't know, man. I'm thinking maybe 7 years. 7, and then don't forget, there's always that. Oh, maybe they'll get parole. I don't know.
Sentencing, Sierra.
All right, 89 votes, guys. You guys haven't voted yet, please vote. I want to know what you guys think. How many years the women will get?
Here's the information that I have for you right now. Ruby Frankie's sentencing has finished. It is 10:20 local time, so that's 20 minutes. There's a 10-minute recess before we're hearing from Jodi Hildebrandt, and I want to read to you some of the information from our executive producer inside. The defense says Ruby Frankie is committed to doing the work. Quote, she is a delightful and respectful person. Here's a statement from Ruby herself. I was led to believe this world was an evil place filled with church leaders that lie and molest, and children who need abuse. My choice to believe this led to criminal behavior. Jodi Hildebrandt was never my business partner. She was my son's counselor. Ruby said she's never received any wages. She also again mentioned Kevin was the love of her life. Now, Ruby continued on saying, my choice to live in fear of the world has created a blind spot for me. Watching my community respond to my charges with justice, mercy, grace, and love, this world is full of really great people. I'm sorry for twisting God's words and distorting this doctrine. This is a big one here, Bob. I'm willing to serve.
Oh, why is she using the word distort? Oh my God, Ruby, you could have had better choice of words.
God's words and distorting this doctrine. This is a big one here, Bob. I'm willing to serve a prison sentence as long as it takes to unravel for what I believe. So that is very interesting what we're hearing right now. And I do believe, I'm so sorry that I'm getting rain all over my phone and it's not acting exactly how it normally should, but I do believe, yep, this is correct here. 1 to 5 sentences, 1 to 15 rather, sentences are all set to run consecutively. So that's what we're just learning right now. Those sentences will run consecutively.
Okay, all right, appreciate it, Sierra. All right, I'm being told that there's something going on with regard to sentencing in the courtroom, so let's go in.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to District Court. We're here for sentencing in the matter of State of Utah.
Why did she just walk into the courtroom like that? sorry, it's just me.
Versus Ruby Frankie. Ms. Frankie is here with Mr. Windward. Mr. Clark and Mr. Sham are here for the state of Utah, and we are ready to proceed with sentencing.
We are. Yes, Your Honor.
Counsel, the terms of the sentence were agreed to as part of the plea agreement, correct?
That is correct.
There is a pre-sentence investigation report in the matter. I have reviewed that. Everyone has seen it.
Yes.
What about restitution, counsel, before we move on with other matters?
We'd like to leave that open at this time, Your Honor. I can get into that. I might be more comfortable if we approach to get into that.
Is there an agreement that restitution, that we reserve that, and for what period of time?
Hi, Katrina.
8 months is what we're anticipating. But I haven't talked to the defendant's counsel about that.
We haven't discussed that, Your Honor.
Is there any objection?
No.
All right. What's the state's position regarding sentencing?
Your Honor, the state, I'll stand up. The state respectfully requests that the court sentence Ms. Frankie to consecutive prison terms for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. This sentence was agreed to by Ms. Frankie in her plea agreement and is also recommended by adult probation and parole. She committed horrible acts of child abuse. From May to August in 2023, Ms. Frankie and her business partner held her 2 children, ages 9 and 11, turning 12, in a concentration camp-like setting. The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment. They were isolated from others and were hidden when people came to visit the house where the children and the defendants were staying. The children were forced to do physical tasks like carrying loaded boxes up and down stairs and wall sits or sitting against a wall without a chair or stool for hours at a time. They were also forced to do manual labor outdoors in the extreme summer heat, at times without shoes or socks. They were forced to stand outside on a cement patio in the summer heat for hours and even days at a time. They were beaten, and the 12-year-old was regularly bound hand and foot after he attempted to run away in mid-July. Both children had extensive physical injuries from the abuse that required hospitalization when they were found. The injuries from the binding to the 12-year-old are particularly awful. In addition to physical abuse, the children were emotionally abused to the extent that each believed, to some degree, that they deserved what was being done to them.
Yeah.
Had the older of the children not had the courage to run away and ask a neighbor to call the police, heaven only knows how much longer he could have survived in that situation. After being caught, Ms. Frankie has shown considerable remorse, as evidenced by agreeing to serve consecutive prison terms and being willing to cooperate with the state against Ms. Hildebrandt. However, given the severity of the abuse she inflicted, consecutive terms are appropriate in this case. As the court's aware, Section 76-3401 lays out factors the court takes into account in determining whether consecutive or concurrent sentences should be imposed. Those factors are the gravity and circumstances of the offense, the number of victims, and the history, character, and rehabilitative needs of the defendant. As agreed to in the plea agreement and as recommended by adult probation and parole, consecutive sentences are appropriate. This is due to the severity of the abuse to both victims. It could be argued that Ms. Frankie should receive a lesser sentence than Ms. Hildebrandt because of her remorse and willingness to cooperate with the state. However, the Board of Pardons and Parole will have broad latitude and will be able to take those facts into account when it determines how long each of the co-defendants will remain incarcerated. In conclusion, we respectfully request that the court go along with what was agreed to in the plea agreement and is recommended by adult probation and parole and impose consecutive sentences.
Do y'all think the women should get the same sentences, or do you think one should get more severe? I think they both should get the same. I don't care that she's pointing her fingers at fucking Jodi Hildebrandt. I don't care.
Thank you. Anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Windward?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. In my few comments this morning, and the comments my client wishes to make in a few minutes, We are not suggesting, nor are we asking that the court deviate from the stipulated sentence contained in the written plea agreement. I want the court to know that through introspection and reflection, Ruby Franke has become a serious student of her own actions. In the very early days of my involvement with Ruby, she was somewhat defensive, and she was still very much indoctrinated into a philosophy that was destructive. Fortunately, Ruby came to the stark realization of the errors in her thinking patterns and subsequent actions. To say that she was horrified by this realization would be to put it mildly. I have marveled at how quickly Ruby abandoned her defensive stance and moved toward her total acceptance of her actions and to...
I don't know. There's something about Ruby that I'm really not liking right now. Like the way that she's like, I don't know, maybe the way that she's like posturing herself or the way she's like fidgeting her hair a little bit earlier. You think Ruby should get a worse sentence? She's supposed to protect her own children? Oh, that's interesting. I actually didn't even think about it that way. I kept thinking that people wanted Jodi to have more because she's like the architect of all this, and then Ruby's just the one who just went along with it. But you know what? That could make sense too. Ruby to get more than Jodi. I could totally see that.
Her sentence today. So far, she has used her time in jail to unwrap the layers upon layers of deceit and deception foisted upon her over the last 4 years by an unscrupulous individual. Ruby realizes that she still has work to do in shedding those thinking errors and to reestablish a better and correct pattern of thinking and behavior. Ruby realizes that changing her thinking, reestablishing relationships, and healing are not simple or easy tasks. However, she is committed to doing that work. I would like the court to know that Ruby Franke is a delightful, respectful, and responsible person. She is open to feedback and addressing the consequences of her actions head on, and now ready to address your honor and accept your judgment.
Did she welcome the feedback when people were like, hey, you're doing some really weird things to your children back in the YouTube days? No, she came on the defensive, both her and Kevin. I don't remember her welcoming feedback back then. She went on the defensive. They doubled down.
Thank you, Judge Walton.
Thank you. Ms. Franke has a statement she'd like to make.
She does.
She's going to bang on Jodi.
Judge Wall.
You don't have to bend down.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to make a statement without any intent to change my stipulated sentence. For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. I was led to believe that this world was an evil place, filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need abused. My choice to believe and behave this paranoia culminated into criminal activity for which I stand before you today ready to take accountability. Jodi Hildebrandt was never my business partner, nor was I ever employed by her. I have never received wages from her or connections. Jodi was employed as my son's counselor in 2019, and in 2020 I paid her to be my mentor.
Wait, when was Chad sent to that camp? She said that she hired Jodi to be a counselor for Chad. When was he sent to the camp again?
It is important to me to demonstrate my remorse and regret without blame. I take full accountability for my choices, and it is my preference that I serve a prison sentence. Thank you to the officers in Santa Clara and the Ivan City Police. Nick Hellman, Brian Palufo, Cy Pikuvit, Mike Pondoyo in Tobler, John Ward, D. Lewis, and Chief Flowers. You were the angels who came and saved my children. I especially want to thank Detective J. Bate. She plucked me out of a situation I didn't know how to get out of. And the moment she handcuffed me was the moment I gained my freedom. You were not the controlling ones. I was. Thank you to the medical staff at Intermountain Hospital. Your skill, tenderness, and professionalism helped heal my children. Jodi and I inflicted the injuries, not the hospital. Thank you to DCFS, the Children's Justice Center, Judge Basil, and other key adults. You've gathered my children under your wing and offered them love, compassion, encouragement. You were not the ones who were doing the brainwashing.
Mom sought out other abusive practices that align with her abusive parenting.
Thank you to my Bishop Tom Hawks and my state president Jim Nilsson for reminding me of the Lord's love for the lost. So much pain and suffering would have been avoided had I followed and heeded your counsel. I was the one who was deceived, not you. Thank you to the Washington County Prosecutor's Office, Ryan Sham, the legal assistants and discovery clerks. Eric Clark, you exemplified to me how justice and mercy are meant to coexist.
Why are we going in a
My charges are just. They offer safety to my family, accountability to the public, and they did show mercy to me. Thank you to my attorney, Lamar Windward, and his staff. I would not be where I am today without them. Thank you to Randy Kester for your...
Did she just win like a Grammy Award or something? I've never seen a sentencing where someone does like a tour thanking everyone for everything. I think initially it started off pretty like, okay, I get it. But you did not win a Grammy, okay? Put that award down.
Limitless energy in healing my family. My dear friends, Pam and Roy, I'm so sorry for letting you down. Because of your association with me, your innocence was called into question.
Oh, no. Okay, Pam is the one who was on the body cam when they were looking for her children, the two older children. And Pam was like, they were like, oh, so what's connections? Pam's like, oh, I don't know. It's just this thing where you connect. Like, I don't know. Like, she gave such a bad description on the body cam. And they kept asking, like, well, what's connection? Like, what's your role in it? Blah, blah, blah. And then finally we found out that Pam was the fucking president of Connections. We were like, wait a second. You're the president of Connections and you don't even know how to describe what Connections is? And Pam was the one that was like so delighted to have Ruby Frankie's children over because she's like, oh yeah, great. I have people visiting me. I need people to do my chores. That's the Pam that she's talking about. Pam Bochner.
Dear friends, Pam and Roy, I'm so sorry for letting you down.
I think.
Because of your association with me, your innocence was called into question. My mother-in-law, father-in-law, Kevin's family, my cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and neighbors, you all saw the warning signs long before I did, and you did what you could. You wanted to help, but I pushed you away. My mother and father, I have been utterly wretched to you. You have offered me unconditional love, and for that I have offered you unconditional contempt. My siblings and their spouses, because of my decision to roll around in a pigsty, I have dragged your families through the mud in public. Yet, when I desired to return as a prodigal sister, unlike the prodigal's brother in the Bible, you synced step with my parents and ran out to greet me. Your capacity to love is unprecedented. Kevin, my husband of more than 23 years, you are the love of my life. I'm so sorry to leave to you to finish what we both started together. The ending of our marriage is a tragedy. It really wrapped around my heart. And now I'll never be able to undo. To my babies, my 6 little chicks, you were part of me. I was the mama duck who was consistently rowing you to safety. I can see now. Over the past 4 years, I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I never went into darkness knowingly. I disoriented, that I believed dark was light and light was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. My willingness to sacrifice all for you was masterfully manipulated into something very ugly. I took from you all that was soft and safe and good. I took from you your mother. How terrifying this must have been for you. I will stop crying. You're hurting your tender souls. You're so precious to me. I'm sorry. My choice to live in fear of the world has created a great vulnerability and a blind spot for me, where I have broken hearts and I've caused people to suffer and I have betrayed sacred trust.
I know, right? I wonder how many times her kids cried through the abuse that they were going through. How many times the kids were begging their mom to stop. How many times their kids were telling their mom that this hurts. I'm hungry. And I wonder how many times Jodi and Ruby just laughed it off.
Watching my community respond to my charges with justice and mercy and grace and love is all the more evidence to me of how wrong I've been. This world is full of really good people. And finally, I'm sorry for twisting God's word and distorting his doctrines. My greatest desire is to stand in his court someday spotless and confident. And Judge Walton, I know that standing before you today is a necessary step towards that end. Thank you to you and your staff for facilitating my opportunity to take accountability and to answer for my charges. I am humbled and willing to serve a prison sentence as long as it takes to continue unraveling all of the misinformation I have believed and bought, swallowed, and acted out, and for my family to heal and for the community to heal. And I understand this is going to take time. I'm committed to continuing my learning until all of my toxic layers are shed, and I am ready to re-enter as a contributing member of our beautiful society. Thank you, Judge Walton.
Thank you for your statement, Ms. Frankie. Anything else, Mr. Windward?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else prior to the court imposing sentence?
No, Your Honor.
The sentence will be that Ms. Frankie serve 4 counts, 4 1 to 15-year sentences based on her convictions for 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Again, they will be served consecutively pursuant to the parties' agreement and the applicable statute. Under the applicable statute, the court finds that consecutive sentences are appropriate. Ms. Frankie, the last thing I do need to tell you.
So that's like 4 to 60 years. Man, 4 to 60 years. What a large range. I feel like she's going to get 4 to 6 years and then, parole.
Is that you have only 30 days to file or to perfect an appeal of any errors of the court by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the court. If you don't do that within 30 days, you will lose your right to appeal. You also have the right to the assistance of an attorney on appeal and to have one appointed if you cannot afford to hire your own. Restitution, as agreed by the parties, will remain open for a period of 8 months.
Yeah, because it's consecutive, and he said that she's going to serve for 4 counts of child abuse, for 4 counts, and the minimum is 1 year each. So if it's consecutive, that's 4 years right there, and then the max is 60 years. If it was concurrent, it would just be 1 to 15 years. But because it's consecutive, minimum she'll get is 4 years. But then again, there's always that good behavior shit where it's like, hey, you're supposed to serve 10 years, but you're on good behavior, so we'll let you out like 4 years.
The parties can bring that matter back before the court within that period of time. Anything else?
No, Your
Your Honor.
Well, I mean,
Thank you.
it could go up to 60 years, but I don't think so. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be like 4 to 7.
The next matter before the court is State of Utah versus Hildebrandt, case 231501763.
Here comes Jodi. I think that there'll probably be a break before Jodi comes out, right? Oh, no.
Mr. Terry is here representing Ms. Hildebrandt.
And Jodi's here now.
Mr. Shum and Mr.
Let's see Jodi's demeanor when she walked into the courtroom. I don't know, man. When Ruby walked into the courtroom, she was like, oh, my hair. And like, I don't know. The way she came in, I was like, girl, what are you doing?
Clark are here representing the state.
She thought maybe she was a drug or something.
Your Honor, we anticipated 10:30.
So, by the way, the parole board is going to determine how many years she's going to get. It's not the judge. I thought we were going to find out today, like exactly how many years she's going to be sentenced to. The judge is just going to give like a time frame, and the parole board will narrow it from there. Currently 4 to 60 years, Rhiannon, and it's because the judge has determined that's going to be served consecutively, not concurrently.
I'm not saying that we need to wait till then, but can I have a moment, please?
Approach.
Court is back in session. You may be seated.
Court recalls the matter of State of Utah versus Hildebrandt, case 231501763. Counsel are present. Ms. Hildebrandt is present. Counsel, there is a pre-sentence investigation report. I have read it. Everyone has seen and reviewed that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Again, the sentence was stipulated at the time of the plea agreement. What record do we need to make other than going forward with sentencing?
Your Honor, it would be repetitive. I had the same statement just with the last few paragraphs where I was differentiating between Ms. Frankie and Ms. Hildebrandt.
Okay, let's talk about housekeeping matters first. What about restitution?
And we've stipulated to keep that open for 8 months.
It is appropriate, Your Honor, since we don't have any evidence with respect to restitution, and that's because it is still in the process of being gathered by the county attorney's office. It's completely appropriate for the court to make no orders with respect to restitution other than to reserve all issues regarding restitution, and we have no issue with the eight-month time frame.
And the injunction that was previously issued by the court will remain in effect.
It will.
At least until that time.
It will remain in effect until further order of this court.
All right. Mr. Clark?
Thank you, Your Honor. House yet.
The State of Utah respectfully requests that the court sentence Ms. Hildebrandt to consecutive prison terms for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse to which she has pleaded guilty. The sentence was agreed to her in her plea agreement and is also recommended by adult probation and parole. Ms. Hildebrandt committed awful acts of child abuse. From May to August 2023, she and her business partner held 2 children, ages 9 and 11, turning 12, in a concentration camp-like setting in her house in Ivan City. The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment. They were isolated from others and were hidden when people came to visit the house. They were forced to do physical tasks like carrying loaded boxes up and down stairs and doing wall sits or sitting against a wall without assistance of a chair or stool for hours at a time. They were forced to do manual labor outdoors in the extreme summer heat, often without shoes or socks. They were also forced to stand outside on a cement patio in the summer heat for hours and even days. They were beaten, and the 12-year-old was regularly bound hand and foot after he attempted to run away in mid-July. Both children had extensive physical injuries from the abuse that required hospitalization to treat. The injuries from the binding are particularly bad. In addition to the physical abuse, the children were emotionally abused. They each believed to some degree that they deserved what was being done to them. Had the older of the 2 children not had the courage to run away and ask a neighbor to call the police, heaven only knows how much longer he could have survived. After being caught, Ms. Hildebrandt has shown little to no remorse for her actions. In telephone conversations that will be provided in full to the Board of Pardons and Parole, and which she knew to be recorded, she's repeatedly claimed that she is the victim and the children are the perpetrators.
What? Oh my gosh, I can't wait till we hear the phone calls. No way. Blaming the children.
She's gone so far as to say that the things said in this proceeding and covered by the media today will be full of lies. The combination of three factors make Ms. Hildebrandt a significant threat to the community. First, the severity of the abuse she caused to be inflicted on young children. Second, her attitude that everything she did was justified and that she is being wrongfully imprisoned.
Okay, she might get more
third,
years.
Her training as a therapist and aptitude for using online resources to convince others to follow her guidance. Utah Code Section 76-3401 lays out three factors the court should consider in determining whether to impose concurrent or consecutive sentences.
Because remember I said that the last court appearance, Jodi came in looking angry. Her eyebrows were all furrowed and she was sitting there like all pissed and shit like that. Oh my God, that totally makes sense. If she doesn't think that she did anything wrong and she's blaming the children and she thinks the news and the media and anyone covering it is just going to spout a bunch of lies, I can see why she came in looking like that even today.
The first is the gravity and circumstances of the offense. The second is the number of victims, and the third is the history, character, and rehabilitative need of the defendant. As agreed to in the plea agreement and as recommended by adult probation and parole, consecutive sentences are appropriate here. This is due to the severity of the abuse to the two victims and the extreme need for Ms. Hildebrandt to be rehabilitated so that she no longer will present a risk to the community. The state respectfully requests that she be sentenced to 4 consecutive terms.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Terry?
Is she going to talk?
Thank you, Your Honor. I will be brief. As is always the case in cases that come before courts, there are two sides to every case. And and even in a case like this, that remains the case. There are many allegations regarding these two individuals, Ms. Frankie and my client, Ms. Hildebrandt. The only facts in this case that are adjudicated facts are those set forth in the plea agreement that she entered into freely and knowingly and voluntarily. Those facts, those adjudicated facts, are significant. They certainly provide a basis for the pleas and provide a basis for the stipulated sentence in this case. My experience with Ms. Hildebrandt is that she is not the person that she has been portrayed to be.
Exactly, she's worse. How many victims do you know?
But having said that, she has accepted responsibility in this case. She has entered into this plea agreement with a stipulated sentence of 4 consecutive sentences. She did that at the time she entered into the plea agreement, knowing that that would be the court's order.
Okay.
She is before the court today, knowing that that will be the court's order, and she fully accepts that. She accepts responsibility, and she accepts the consequences for her conduct.
Hi, Lily.
And we will submit it to the court on the stipulated agreement.
Mr. Terry, you suggested that there are two sides to every case. I generally agree with you. Ms. Hildebrandt didn't make a statement to AP&P in the course of the pre-sentence investigation report.
Correct.
Why did she not make a statement?
She wanted to reserve her right to make a statement before the court today, and she has a brief statement that she wants to read.
Oh, she does.
Okay.
And
all right. Ms. Hildebrandt? Go ahead.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally. One of the reasons I did not go to trial is that I did not want them to emotionally relive the experience which would have been detrimental to them. My hope and prayer is that they will heal and move forward to have beautiful lives. I am willing to submit to what the state feels would be an appropriate amount of time served.
Thanks, Taxi. Appreciate that. I can't believe she started her sentence with that. How much she loves the children.
Is that they will heal and move forward to have beautiful lives. I am willing to submit to what the state feels would be an appropriate amount of time served to make retribution as an outcome.
And in answer to your question, Your Honor, I knew that.
That's it. That's it. That's all she wrote. That's it. Wait a second. Did I just gloss over the part where she apologized to them? Did I gloss over the part where she said that she did wrong? Wait a second. Was that, maybe I blanked out or something. Maybe I didn't hear it.
Whatever she might say to the author of the pre-sentence report would probably sound hollow and self-serving, and perhaps it does today. But I know that my client, in the statement that she makes to the court today, that statement is absolutely sincere.
Does Hildebrandt recognize that it's her behavior that caused the harm to the children that she's referred to in her statement?
Yep,
Your Honor, she recognizes that she was, along with Miss Frankie, that she made decisions with respect.
Oh no. The lawyer is saying, hey, it might sound like her statement just now is hollow and self-serving, but I promise you, I know her. It's not. I think even the lawyer knows that was such a bad statement. And the judge was like, okay, does she know that her actions, this is from her actions? And the lawyer's like, well, she knows that both her and Ruby Frankie, don't forget about Ruby now. Oh my God, I feel like the lawyer's trying so hard because the lawyer knows that this woman right here does not want to take responsibility, but he's trying to word it in a way that sounds good for the judge.
Recognizes that she was, along with Miss Frankie,
don't bring up Ruby. Focus on your client.
That she made decisions with respect to the discipline of those children that were wrong, that caused harm to those children. She fully recognizes that and accepts responsibility for that.
All right. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Hildebrandt, this circumstance is tragic. It's largely, of course, of your making. By any measure, your conduct in this case was disastrous for these children. Mm-hmm. Adults are supposed to protect children. Adults with specialized training in particular are supposed to protect children. You didn't do that in this case. In this case, you terrorized children, and the results have been tragic. It's what happened to these children and your philosophy in dealing with them, frankly, seems detached from reality or any objective standard of decency or even common sense. And the court finds that it is appropriate that you serve a prison sentence. The court finds under the statute, Utah Code 76-3-401, that given the gravity and circumstances of the offenses, the number of victims, and the history and character and needs of the defendant, that consecutive sentences are appropriate. The court imposes 4 1 to 15-year sentences to be, again, served consecutively for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. The last thing I do need to tell you is that you only have 30 days to file or perfect an appeal of any error of the court by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the court. If you don't do that, you will lose your right to appeal. That has to be filed in writing, and again within 30 days. You also have the right to the assistance of an attorney and to have an attorney appointed if you cannot afford to hire your own. Thank you. We're in recess.
Wait, does it look bad if you took a plea deal and then you decide to appeal it or try to? I'm actually very curious about that. What if they do try to appeal? Like, hey, I'm going to appeal the decision, but I already agreed as part of the plea deal to serve consecutively.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Thanks, Unite. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the 6. Thank you
don't know about you folks, but I found that those two sentencings to be extraordinary. I have another guest that we're going to bring on the show, Natalie Whittingham-Burrell, with us, criminal defense lawyer.
Wait,
Natalie, let me
right
go to you. The state, whether it was heartfelt. Now, I'm being told right now that there is actually a press conference by the prosecutor. Let's go to it.
Actively hiding things, and because the abuse was horrific, and it would have been apparent to anybody that would have seen the kids that something was wrong here.
Is this some of the worst child abuse you've seen in your career?
Yes, and not just in my career, but in our office's career, in our institutional memory, this is one of the worst child abuse cases that we've seen.
Do you consider this precedent setting?
Can you?
In terms of the actual sentences they end up serving?
No, because I think the board takes everything into account so specifically.
Do you think Jodi's going to end up serving more?
I hope so. I hope that Jodi does serve more. I think that would only be fair. I think that Ruby should serve. So the sentence that they got is basically 4 to 30 years today, right? The 4 1-year minimum stat, and then in Utah you're capped at 30 years. I think that a 4-year minimum for Ruby's actions are entirely appropriate. I hope that Jodi serves more time than that, and I hope that she isn't out of prison until everybody is completely confident that she's no longer a risk. And to get there, she's going to have to acknowledge that she has done wrong, and that you can't use religion as a means to justify your crazy behavior.
Do you think I'm just trying to understand, why would the mother, in your opinion, deserve less time when she's watching?
Both women got consecutive sentences of 1 to 15 years each. So 4 to 60 years, but he said it's capped at 30 years. So I guess like 4 to 30 years.
She's torturing her kids versus a stranger.
The parole board is going to take that, and then they're going to give their actual sentencing, because that's determined by the parole board, not the judge.
Wouldn't you hold the parent more accountable?
I don't know. I don't know about the appeal thing. The judge brought it up. He was like, hey, you have 30 days for an appeal. And I'm like, oh, well, would it look bad if they try to appeal this? Or what would they be appealing?
Again, so they both got the same deal, right? Like we didn't give her a less of a minimum time. Part of the mission of what we do when we incarcerate people, I'll obviously want to see justice done. And a mother abusing her children in this way is awful.
However, in Jodi Hildebrandt's scenario, they said they have phone calls after she got arrested where she wasn't taking responsibility. She actually said that she was the victim and she blamed the children. So now that we heard about that, I'm sure some news organization out there is going to try to get a hold of those phone calls, and I cannot wait to listen to it. Oh my God. It's going to be unbelievable.
Awful. And people should go to prison for that. Something that is really important is that people shouldn't be released from prison unless they've hit the maximum amount of time they should be in, or they've done enough that justice is served, and it's clear that they're no longer a risk to the community. And I'm super concerned that Jodi, if she were released today, is a significant risk to gather followers. Ruby was essentially a follower of Jodi. And if she's gathering people and then convincing them to do this kind of thing, that's a huge risk. And those type of people shouldn't be walking the streets when they've committed these kind of crimes.
There was some back and forth with the restitution piece of this. Can you explain where you are with that?
So there were a couple of motions filed over the course of the last month about that. And we anticipate a restitution claim coming in that will cover ongoing therapy and physical care, physical recovery if needed.
I hope they're able to manage those finances correctly. Like, let's say they get like a shit ton of money from Jodi Hildebrandt. I hope whoever has custody of those children, or I don't know, maybe they'll have like some sort of like financial institute that will handle the money for them. I hope whoever does that, I hope they do a good job. I don't know. Because like sometimes you hear cases where it's like the money's given to the parents and the parents doesn't actually use it for what it's for. And they end up spending it on themselves.
of the victims of these crimes.
So I'm not quite sure how that's
the state hasn't submitted a claim for restitution yet, and we want to make sure that there's plenty of time for all of that to be kind of analyzed and brought in before we close out restitution. And that should be the same for both defendants, right? Like both of them will end up with restitution orders against them, I assume.
Thank you.
Yep, I have a written statement that kind of recapsulates some of what I said in there, and thank you.
Yeah.
This is what we were talking about, but if you would there's
another person.
Acceptance of
times, and she's always like he'll hope that Jodi gets.
Who's this guy?
With many layers that happened over many years.
Is this Ruby's lawyer?
It is not one that can be adequately told in one setting, let alone at a press conference. At Windward Law, we know the sorrow our client feels and the remorse she carries. We know of her commitment to heal and provide healing for her family. We give thanks to all who have provided support during this very difficult process. Thank you.
Ruby had her YouTube apology video ready, loaded up with all the ads.
So the judge talked very differently to defendant Hildebrandt versus your client. Do you have any comment on that?
I'll just leave it at what Judge Walton said. I think he was very accurate.
She addressed her husband and children in her statement.
Hi, Becky. She didn't address that.
She never turned around to look at him, not even when she left. What do you know about their communication levels?
Wait. Oh, when Ruby was addressing Kevin, that's true. She didn't turn around to address him, did she? She was just like talking to the judge. Interesting.
She addressed her husband and children in her statement, yet she never turned around to look at him, not even when she left. What do you know about their communication levels at this point?
He's like, fuck, how do I answer that? Well, you see, my client, shit, what should I say? What is he gonna say?
I don't, because her husband and family have attorneys, it's difficult for communication to happen except through attorneys. That's an unfortunate consequence sometimes of our legal system in domestic cases.
But she didn't even turn around, didn't look at him.
That's probably by design. We're addressing the court in that proceeding, even though we address family.
What do you expect for the future of her relationship with her children?
I'm hoping that that healing will happen, and that not just physically but emotionally and family-wise, that will be a source of positive in the future.
Has she had any family visitors in her time while she's been incarcerated?
Oh yeah. Okay, so apparently, who were the children that showed up? I think she tweeted about that. Why is there Heinz ketchup here? What the hell? Oh. I think she mentioned Kevin, Frankie's glaring at Jodi Hildebrandt. Oh wait, hold on. I want to catch up with these tweets. Ruby. Okay. Wow, time is going by so fast. I think she mentioned, okay, so Sherry is there, the oldest daughter. And I think the son is there as well. Chad is there. Okay, so Chad came in with Kevin. Sherry's there. Attorneys are there. Okay.
Different family members have reached out through the local jail and have communicated with her, yes.
But not Kevin?
Yeah, because I was thinking, are the family members going to show up?
Not to my knowledge.
Are her children that are older and above 18?
Not to my knowledge. Thank you all.
What do you think a fair sentence for her is, ultimately, the time served?
I have to leave that to the Board of Pardons because that is their entire province, and mine would be a pure guess.
How does that complicate things based on today?
Pardon?
How does that complicate things based on today? I mean, you hear a sentencing, it's very similar to what was already described in court. How does the Board of Pardons and Parole fit into this entire nuance here and kind of drag out a process a little bit?
They ultimately have the ultimate decision-making to determine what is the adequate sentence after periods of time have elapsed.
The prosecution said this is the worst child abuse case their office has ever seen. What's it like on the other side of that?
I don't think it's the worst. It's bad, but it's not the worst. Thank you all.
We have another statement from Jodi's attorney. Do you want to just, maybe go right here. Mr. Terry, you can start.
Oh, this is Jodi's attorney. Prosecutor has said that Ruby Frankie admitted almost immediately. Jodi Hildebrandt has not. Oh, shit, where did I see that? Yeah. Prosecutor said Ruby Frankie had almost immediately shown remorse. He said Jodi Hildebrandt has not. Okay. Jodi Hildebrandt's lawyer. Oh boy, what's he going to say?
Say your first name.
Douglas Terry, I represent Jodi Hildebrandt.
Doug, you said two sides to every story. It didn't seem like the judge agreed. What do you make of that back and forth in dialogue?
The seriousness of the case, the seriousness of the allegations, the seriousness of the facts that both Ms. Frankie and Ms. Hildebrandt pled guilty to, I was not surprised at all by the judge's comments and questions of my client. I'm not prepared to go into specifics with respect to facts that are disputed in this case. I will stand by what I said on her behalf in the sentencing hearing, and that is that she entered into this plea agreement to take responsibility for her conduct in this case. Her statement that she hopes for both the physical and emotional healing of these children is absolutely sincere. How much time she serves will ultimately be up to the Board of Pardons, as with Miss Frankie.
When she said that she loved the children, Chad.
Oh, I thought it was called Board of Parole.
Chad and Sherry had smirks and were looked shocked on their faces. Do you have a comment about that?
That doesn't surprise me, but again, she was sincere in that statement.
Do you think she should have had more to say? I mean, Ruby spoke for a very detailed length of time, and Jodi had a few sentences. Did you go over that with her? Was there an opportunity for her to say more?
She had the opportunity to say whatever she wanted to say. I did not put words in her mouth. I wanted her to make a statement from the heart. That's what she felt like she needed to convey today.
What a politician answer.
That it's about the children, not about her, and that's what she did.
The prosecution said there's phone calls that are recorded in which Hildebrandt lacks remorse. What do you know about those phone calls, and is she...
I know that early on in the case, she had phone calls with individuals that were in support of her, did not believe that she did the things that she was accused of doing. I have not listened.
Who are these individuals that called her in support of her? We need to know. Did they not believe the 911 caller? Did they not believe the injuries about the children, about the duct tape? Or were they like, hey, I know you do this kind of shit and we don't care. What you're doing is right.
To those phone calls, as the county attorney's office has. But again, whatever was said was early in the case, and that is not her position today.
So she's changed how she feels about it.
As often is the case when individuals are charged, arrested, accused, sometimes it's a process.
Are these those weird influencer parents that basically tortured the kids? The 8 passengers? The YouTube stuff, the stuff that was apparent was her like taking the door away. That's what she admitted. She took the door away of her teenage son. She would withhold food. She would use food as a controlling and manipulating way to get her children to do things and like do like a bunch of chores and all that stuff. That's the extent that we know from the YouTube stuff.
To come to the point where...
But, behind closed doors, could have been a lot worse. There's also a lot of isolation involved as well, where the children were isolated from their friends, from people in general, electronics being taken away, where they don't have access to the outside world. So shit like that, yeah.
where they take responsibility and accept the consequences.
A lot of people have spoken out about other victims in this case, the victims of Jodi and other different sorts. And I know this is about the children, but how much does that weigh into what you guys have discussed with Jodi?
As far as other victims, that has not been a factor.
Well, and prosecutors are saying that they're hoping that Jodi gets a lengthier, a heavier sentence. They feel that she's kind of the
Oh my God, I see Adam Steed in my other screen.
ringleader in this whole situation.
That's the prosecution's position. It has been from the beginning. As I said when we entered into the plea agreement, she did not do that because Ms. Frankie had agreed to testify against her. That decision was made before Ms. Frankie ever agreed to testify against her to cooperate with the state.
Mr. Terry, you said that there were two sides to every case. What is the side of Jodi Hildebrandt that we're not seeing?
I'm not going to go into the specifics of allegations.
Tell us about Jodi's side. You see, yeah, I'm not going to go into the specifics.
That she agrees with and doesn't agree with. I will stand by the statement that I made in the sentencing hearing, and that is that the factual basis that is set forth in the plea agreement, those are the only adjudicated facts in the case. She admitted to those facts. She takes responsibility for those facts. She's been sentenced on those facts.
This is a small, family-oriented community, and her home was essentially likened to a concentration camp. How did she square that? How did she work around living in this community while there was a house of horrors?
I'm not prepared to respond to that. That's an allegation that I heard for the first time today. I mean, that's a characterization by the prosecutors, which again is no surprise. But that's from their perspective, and I'm not prepared to address that.
You don't feel that's an accurate description?
I do not.
You disagree with that?
I do.
Has Ms. Hildebrandt, has she expressed remorse to you about what happened?
Many times. Many times.
What is her remorse? What is she sorry about?
Her remorse is for getting caught.
About
that she didn't make different decisions, and that would have resulted in the children being more protected.
Is she delusional?
I'm not going to respond to that.
Has she had people come visit her family? I know Ruby has a larger family that has been a little bit more present at some of the hearings, but has she had some support in all of this?
I don't know that she's had visits, personal visits, but I know that she's been in
Jodi wished she bound the duct tape a little bit tighter.
Contact with people who are supportive of her.
She wished she came home a little bit earlier that day before the kid got out.
No family, though?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Is she going to sell her home? I know the restitution can play out for...
It's for sale, yes. Based on the fact that we anticipated a prison sentence, yes, it's for sale.
$5 million.
That's all I have.
Anyone who wants to buy a home out
Thank
there
you.
in the desert, $5 million.
Here, I'll answer your questions. He's her attorney. He can't answer them. My name's Adam Paul Steed, and if you guys want to know who Jodi Hildebrandt is, I'll answer tons of questions about her. I know my dad. Hey, Dad, come here. Come here. My dad has a file at home that's probably about 2,500 pages of records from court filings and just huge amount of documentation about Jodi Hildebrandt that we will share with everybody. I want you to know the same court that has ordered us not to share these documents is covering up this racket that Jodi Hildebrandt had with the Mormon Church in the 4th District Utah County Court. She abused my children the same way, almost, even in a different type of abuse. I think it could be argued worse. And that was 15 years ago. And I fought against Jodi Hildebrandt with my family and everybody to stop this monster of a lady. And Jodi went after me. She went after me to destroy my life in the craziest way you could ever think of possible. Like, I was a victim of sexual abuse at Boy Scouts of America, Camp Little Lemhi in Idaho. And my dad helped us stop a predator. You can read it in the national press and everything. We changed the laws of sexual abuse so victims could come forward. We got rid of the criminal and civil statute limitations. The Mormon Church knew who we were. And Elder Helam, Richard G. Helam, was he was the president of the First Quorum of the 70, the top probably executive functioning leader of the whole Mormon church. And he sat with Jodi Hildebrandt as they destroyed my life in this court racket, like they've destroyed countless other people's lives. And they even had the gall to order my Mormon Stories thing where I brought some documentation off the internet saying,
oh yeah, it's so down. The reason why I know about him is because he was on Mormon Stories and he talked about his experience with Jodi Hildebrandt, how she essentially like destroyed his life. And Jodi was supposed to be his like therapist, and she divulged information about their therapy sessions to, I think, his employment at the time. And then he get fired for that. And then so that's why she had an ethics complaint against her and had her license suspended for a couple of months.
That they didn't want me to say bad things to my children or in front of the children about my ex-wife. Well, if you're accused of sexual abuse by Jodi Hildebrandt, and if your ex-wife performed a falsification of sexual abuse, that professionals looked at the documentation and said, this is sexual abuse. This is sexual abuse. We have documentation for sexual abuse of my children by Jodi Hildebrandt and my ex-wife. And you know, this stuff was redacted in the Doppel paperwork. It was so horrible that it was redacted. And the courts just recently said I couldn't talk about my family and my ex-wife or anything, but if you have children, if your children were trained to think that your dad was sexual predator and a monster.
So I'm sorry, we came in a little bit late. Why is it that you wanted to be here?
Okay, so there are tons, and it's not Jodi Hildebrandt is the tip of the iceberg. The Mormon Church was doing this operation where they were using religious beliefs and they were using ethical therapists to enforce them, and it was an area of exploitation, and it was a horrific area. It was exploitation because it created horrible divorces that should have been normal divorces. We're talking about hundreds and thousands of families going through these courts, and Jodi was like an icon. Her doctrine. Okay, so here's the problem. Everybody.
So today it sounds like was a little bit of like justice for you too.
Oh, Jodi, yeah, Ruby Frank. When I saw Ruby Frank, I saw my ex-wife sitting there saying the exact same thing. That my ex-wife would have said the exact same thing Ruby Frankie said today, and a lot of other women would have said the same thing. You have no idea how many victims are out there that their minds have been messed up so much with this. The prosecutor said that he said that the children thought it was their fault. All of the adult men think it's their fault. All of the women think it's their fault. I have had countless emails and messages.
Sorry, what was your name?
I'm Adam Paul Steed. I'm the guy that got Jodi's license from Doppel removed. Well, my dad and mom get the credit. But you know, and they said that the Doppel department said, we have evidence here for criminal charges against Jodi. This is 13 years ago. It's identical stuff. So I almost like fell over in the courtroom when I heard Jodi say that she loved those children. Mm-hmm. Jodi doesn't love children. Jodi's like Ted Bundy. In fact, one time I was in a
Do you feel that she should have a longer sentence than Ruby?
Jodi, here's the problem. Somebody hits a person and runs. That's like two variables, a car and someone running. They catch them. Jodi's got like 30 variables, including a huge issue with the Mormon Church racketing. I mean, they're all ducking low and covering. In fact, I looked at an email, and I can show this to you guys. This is factual evidence, where it should have been a neutral person in the courts. Kelly Peterson, the guardian ad litem, when they were punishing me in the family custody courts, he said that my act to turn Jodi Hildebrandt in was an act of vengeance, and they took my kids away from me. Because I performed an act of vengeance. That's in this court was sitting there completely in bed with Jodi. They've done it. I talked to Doug Thayer's daughter. She saw relations. I mean, these aggressive attorneys working with Jodi, Commissioner Patton. All these people know about Jodi. The BYU Honor Code office did before they kicked me out of school for being a whistleblower on child abuse, I guess. Jodi Hildebrandt went there and told them I was the most dangerous man she'd ever met in her lifetime. We have hundreds.
And this is why she got her license taken away.
Of pages of this stuff of Jodi Hildebrandt working with top church leaders to dispel me. I got kicked out of school my senior year. This lady, we've got all this documentation of how she talks, how she walks. Now, here's what I do want to say.
Oh, it was at the school that he was, okay. Not the school that he was working at.
I don't like Ruby Frankie, but I don't know her. I just think you have to be a selfish person to fall for Jodi's stuff. She's got a certain kind of carrot that gets certain kind of people. But Ruby Franke would have never done any of this stuff if Jodi Hildebrandt hadn't been the mastermind and just completely created this. Ruby Franke's not dangerous in the sense she's not going to go out and do this to more kids, but Jodi Hildebrandt will. When we went to Doppel, and we went to Doppel ordered her to go through all this ethical stuff. She went through the whole thing with shining colors, and she turned around and did the same stuff again. I mean, even when she was teaching us that we were safe to come to her and stuff, she was abusing children at the same time with one hand and teaching a godliness with another hand.
So what's her motivation?
Jodi Hildebrandt had a weird relationship with my ex-wife. It was a dual relationship. It was bordering sexual in nature. I mean, she went through different women that made her look powerful and important. My ex-wife's dad was a Area 70 in the Mormon Church, and Jodi Hildebrandt wanted power, but I know her instincts. When you're in a pain and suffering, when you talk about something and she finds a way to hurt you, it makes her blush. It makes her feel euphoric. I've seen her act that way and look that way in the worst of circumstances. So I always compare Jodi Hildebrandt to Ted Bundy, because nobody can figure out why a serial killer would kill people. Jodi Hildebrandt, she grows off of people's pain and destruction. And when she sat there and said she loved those kids, I almost fell out of my chair. The only thing her version of loving children is find a way to make them hurt more than anything possible. It's like an energy she feeds off of.
You're all grabbing. Thank you so much, Adam.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't. It's a little traumatic for me, so if I monologue, I'm sorry. Does anybody have a question?
Covered a lot.
We got a ton of documentation. That 4th District Court's got to be ducking their heads right now, because I do want to say something. There's countless children out there that have been raised to believe their fathers are predators because of Jodi Hildebrandt. And the 4th District Court and other courts involved don't want to show they made mistakes. So who's going to help those children? Like, who's going to help them? Like, this is a court of public opinion. People need to find out the truth to go help all these children and help all these people come forward. And the fact that the court tried to silence me for being on the front edge of coming forward is just an example of how the same notorious people in power back then that allowed Jodi to do all this stuff are alive and thriving today. And if you give a damn about our children, you got to do the same thing I do and fight for what's true.
Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you, Adam. That was Adam Steed. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I was getting it through my IFB, hearing myself. That was Adam Steed, who claims to have been a victim of Jodi Hildebrandt, in a sense, comparing her to Ted Bundy. So really, really emotional testimony that we're hearing outside of the courthouse now. Bob, I'll send it back to you right now.
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of amazing.
Yeah, his story was on Mormon Stories podcast, but I saw that it was taken down maybe like a month or so ago. I don't know if they brought it back up, but yeah, it was like a 4-hour-long podcast, and I listened to the whole thing. Not only has he come out, but also Jodi Hildebrandt's niece has come out as well in multiple interviews talking about her experiences with her aunt when she was a teenager and her parents didn't want to deal with her, and they just dropped her off at Aunt Jodi Hildebrandt's house and all the things that she would do. And they're basically echo the same thing, being tied with duct tape, being told not to do certain things, being let outside in the cold, just stuff like that. Like severe mental and physical abuse. Jodi's a total danger to society. I want to hear those phone calls. I'm very curious about those phone calls. Okay, so I felt like there was a lot. I don't know. I want to listen to Ruby Franke's speech again, and then like we'll go back to Jodi Hildebrandt's, because first it's just I don't remember hearing an apology to the children, to the family members, to anyone. Jodi's definitely related to Tim and Trace. Isn't Tracy's trial coming up soon? I'm not looking forward to that one, because obviously Tim would have had the more severe sentencing. But what did he get? Like 7 years parole, time served. Ugh. But I do want to go back to Ruby Franke's speech, because it was a lot. I felt like it came at me so quickly, and I was just like, Ugh. A Netflix doc?
And Discovery Clear.
Yeah, I thought it was so weird how she like went around thanking everyone as if she won a Grammy. I just want to thank everyone who's been a part of my life.
The layers upon layers of deceit and deception foisted upon her over the last 4 years by an unscrupulous individual. Ruby realizes that she still has work to do in shedding those thinking errors.
Yeah, like all the way, she's blaming Jodi Hildebrandt, but it's not like she didn't have any inclinations of treating her children like this. You know, you saw in the YouTube videos that she would use food as a manipulation, even to like her young children. I think there was like one video where, God, it was so fucking disgusting. I don't think I ever did a video about it, did I? It was so bad. She was so sinister and so menacing. Did I do a video about that? Let me see. I don't know if I did. It was a video that someone posted on Reddit where she was, I think the kid went to the cupboard to get a snack and she caught him. And then she's like, oh, you're so cute when you cry. Oh, look at you. You're so sweet when you cry. But didn't I teach you that you can't steal food? You can't take food. You have to wait 2 more hours. And the kid was like crying and he said it was like hungry. And she was just being fucking sadistic. I don't know. It was like so gross to see her act this way. I don't know if I did a video on that one. Did I? Oh, God, I don't think I did. Jesus. I wonder, was it on? Maybe I could find in my history. It was so bad. I was like, I can't believe this woman exists. Or did I show you guys? I might have showed you guys on the live stream, but not on... Yeah, I might have showed you guys on the live stream, but not on... I don't think I made a video about it. Let me see if I can find it. Was it not on YouTube? Withholds food. Oh shoot, I don't know where the video is. It was so sad though. Like the way that she was talking to her kid, like, oh my God, you're so cute when you cry. But you're hungry? Oh, too bad. No food for you. What did I tell you about coming in and getting food whenever you want? You can't steal my food. This is my food. Like just like stuff like that, where it's just like, ugh. Just horrible.
And to reestablish a better and correct pattern of thinking and behavior. Ruby realizes that to rest on her.
Thank you. Judge Wald.
You don't have to bend down.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to make a statement without any intent to change my stipulated sentence. For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. I was led to believe that this world was an evil place, filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need.
She said that she hired Jodi Hildebrandt as Chad's counselor in 2019. When did their YouTube channel go down again? Was it 2021? And when did they start their YouTube channel? Like back in what, 2015, 2016 or something?
Abused. My choice to believe and behave this paranoia culminated into criminal activity for which I stand before you today ready to take accountability. Jodi Hildebrandt was never my business partner, nor was I ever employed by her. I have never received wages from her or connections. Jodi was employed as my son's counselor in 2019, and in 2020 I paid her to be my mentor. It is important to me to demonstrate my remorse and regret without blame. I take full accountability for my choices, and it is my preference that I serve a prison sentence. Thank you to the officers in Santa Clara and the Iron City Police, Nick Hellman, Brian Palufo, Cy Pickuvit, Mike Pondoyo in Tobler, John Ward, D. Lewis, and Chief.
Honestly, I know that she was probably just ramping up and like the children was going to be her grand finale. I think the address should have been first and foremost her children. It should have been her children. It should have been her husband afterwards. And then do your thank you tour with everyone else.
Flowers. You were the angels who came and saved my children. I especially want to thank Detective J. Bate. She plucked me out of a situation I didn't know how to get out of. And the moment she handcuffed me was the moment I gained my freedom. You were not the controlling ones. I was. Thank you to the medical staff at Intermountain Hospital. Your skill, tenderness, and professionalism helped heal my children. Jodi and I inflicted the injuries, not the hospital. Thank you to DCFS, the Children's Justice Center, Judge Basil, and other key adults. You've gathered my children under your wing and offered them love, compassion, encouragement. You were not the ones who were doing the brainwashing. Thank you to my Bishop Tom Hawks and my state president Jim Nilsson for reminding me of the Lord's love for the lost. So much pain and suffering would have been avoided had I followed and heeded your counsel. I was the one who was deceived, not you. Thank you to the Washington County Prosecutor's Office, Ryan Sham, the legal assistants and discovery clerks. Eric Clark, you exemplified to me how justice and mercy are meant to coexist. My charges are just. They offer safety to my family, accountability to the public, and they did show mercy to me. Thank you to my attorney, Lamar Winward, and his staff. I would not be where I am today without them. Thank you to Randy Kester for your limitless energy in healing my family. My dear friends, Pam and Roy, I'm so sorry for letting you down. Because of your association with me, your innocence was called into question. My mother-in-law, father...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Pam, the Connections president.
Kevin's family, my cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and neighbors. You all saw the warning signs long before I did, and you did what you could. You wanted to help, but I pushed you away. My mother and father, I have been utterly wretched to you. You have offered me unconditional love, and for that I have offered you unconditional contempt. My siblings and their spouses, because of my decision to roll around in a pigsty, I have dragged your families through the mud in public. Yet, when I desired to return as a prodigal sister, unlike the prodigal's brother in the Bible, you synced step with my parents and ran out to greet me. Your capacity to love is unprecedented. Kevin, my husband of more than 23 years, you are the love of my life. I'm so sorry to leave to you to finish what we both started together. The ending of our marriage is a tragedy. It really wrapped around my heart. And now I'll never be able to undo. To my babies, my 6 little chicks, you were part of me. I was the mama duck who was consistently rallying you to safety. I can see now, over the past 4 years, I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I launched into darkness knowingly.
Something about being a mama duck and supposed to be leaving the children to safety, but instead she led them to a deep current and into danger instead.
I was so disoriented. But I believe dark was light and right was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. My willingness to sacrifice all for you was masterfully manipulated into something very ugly. I took from you all that was soft and safe and good. I took from you your mother. How terrifying this must have been for you. I will stop crying. You're hurting your tender souls. You're so precious to me. I'm sorry. My choice to live in fear of the world has created a great vulnerability and a blind spot for me, where I have broken hearts and I've caused people to suffer and I have betrayed sacred trust. Watching my community respond to my charges with justice and mercy and grace and love is all the evidence to me how wrong I've been. This world is full of really good people. And finally, I'm sorry for twisting God's word and distorting his doctrines.
I don't know. I feel like given everything, distortion is a poor choice of words.
My greatest desire is to stand in his court someday spotless and confident. And Judge Walton, I know that standing before you today is a necessary step towards that end. Thank you to you and your staff for facilitating my opportunity to take accountability and to answer for my charges. I am humbled and willing to serve a prison sentence as long as it takes to continue unraveling all of the misinformation I have believed and bought, swallowed, and acted out, and for my family to heal and for the community to heal. And I understand this is going to take time. I'm committed to continuing my learning until all of my toxic layers are shed, and I am ready to re-enter as a contributing member of our beautiful society. Thank you, Judge Walton.
Thank you for your statement.
It was really hard to hear her. I caught the gist of it, but there were some parts where I truly had no idea what she was saying. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I was looking for to see if she was going to address the two children's individually, not kind of like rip all her children up together. If they were going to be addressed individually, and then if she was going to address Sherry Frankie, because it seems like Sherry Frankie, at least a year before everything went down, she was very concerned about her siblings. She was trying to get police to go by the house to check up on them. I don't know. But then again, there were some parts that I just really couldn't hear. Maybe she did, or maybe she didn't.
Ms. Frankie, anything else, Mr. Winward?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else prior to the court imposing sentence?
I mean, honestly, for these women, Ruby Frankie, all we can go by is how their actions are going to be in the future, right? How are they going to take their prison sentence? When they come out, if they come out, how are they going to be? Are they going to change? Are they going to be different? Are they going to go back to their old ways?
No, Your Honor.
The sentence will be that Ms. Frankie.
And then I want to go to right before Jodi, when they said that she did not sound like she was sorry whatsoever, no remorse, how she was on the phone call. She said that she was the victim. I just want to make sure I heard that part right when the prosecutor was talking.
I had the same statement, just keep that open for 8 months.
It is appropriate, Your Honor, since we don't have any evidence with respect to restitution, and that's because it is still in the process of being gathered by the county attorneys.
I also do wonder, because I don't really watch any of her siblings' content, Ruby Frankie's siblings' content. I do wonder if the household that they were raised in, if they did the same thing, where it was like punishment equals doing a shit ton of chores. There's like food manipulation. Like, was she also raised in the same environment as well? Was Kevin Frankie also raised in the same environment?
Office, it's completely appropriate regarding
In effect,
It will.
at least until that time.
It will remain in effect until further order of this court.
All right. Mr. Clark?
Thanks, Your Honor. The state of Utah respectfully requests that the court sentence Ms. Hildebrandt to
I don't think anyone in the chat is comparing Jodi or Ruby Frankie to Shonda or Tim Ferritter, are they? Not, I didn't see anything like that.
consecutive prison terms for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse to which she has pleaded guilty. The sentence was agreed to her in her plea agreement and is also recommended by adult probation and parole. Ms. Hildebrandt committed awful acts of child abuse. From May to August 2023, she and her business partner held 2 children, ages 9 and 11, turning 12, in a concentration camp-like setting in her house in Ivan City. The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment. They were isolated from others and were hidden when people came to visit the house. They were forced to do physical tasks like carrying loaded boxes up and down stairs and doing wall sits or sitting against a wall.
Hold on, I want to get to the... I know Tim and Tracy Ferritter were brought up, but like I think in a different context.
And even days. They were beaten, and the 12-year-old was regularly bound hand and foot after he attempted to run away in mid-July. Both children had extensive physical injuries from the abuse that required hospitalization to treat. The injuries from the binding are particularly bad. In addition to the physical abuse, the children were emotionally abused. They each believed to some degree that they deserved what was being done to them. Had the older of the 2 children not had the courage to run away and ask a neighbor to call the police, heaven only knows how much longer he could have survived. After being caught,
I do have a question though. In chat, 1 in chat if you guys watch 8 Passengers, if you were a viewer of 8 Passengers. 1 in chat if you were. 2 in chat if you were not. I didn't hear about 8 Passengers until I think the lunch thing came out, where the internet was going after her because she posted a video about how I think the teacher called her saying that like, hey, your daughter came today with no lunch. I think the daughter was like 4 or 5 years old. And then Ruby's like, well, yeah, she forgot to bring her lunch and she's going to go out without lunch today. I remember hearing about her then. 2222. Oh, okay. Wait, no one here watched 8 Passengers before?
Ms. Hildebrandt has shown little to no remorse for her actions. In telephone conversations that will be provided in full to the Board of Pardons and Parole, and which she knew to be recorded, she's repeatedly claimed that she is the victim and the children are the perpetrators.
Oh, I can't wait to hear these phone calls.
She has gone so far as to say that the things said in this proceeding and covered by the media today will be full of lies. The combination of 3 factors make Ms. Hildebrandt a significant threat to the community. First, the severity of the abuse she caused to be inflicted on young children. Second, her attitude that everything she did was justified and that she is being wrongfully imprisoned. And third, her training as a therapist and aptitude for using online resources to convince others to follow her guidance. Utah Code Section 76-3401 lays out 3 factors the court should consider in determining whether to impose concurrent or consecutive sentences. The first is the gravity and circumstances of the offense. The second is the number of victims. And the third is the history, character, and rehabilitative need of the defendant. As agreed to in the plea agreement and as recommended by adult probation and parole, consecutive sentences are appropriate here. This is due to the severity of the abuse to the 2 victims and the extreme need for Ms. Hildebrandt to be rehabilitated so that she no longer will present a risk to the community. The state respectfully requests that she be sentenced to 4 consecutive terms.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Terry?
Thank you, Your Honor. I will be brief.
And I'm going to get to where she speaks, and her speech is pretty concise.
In P, in the course of the...
That's what I'm wondering, Mary. I was like, was she talking to her business partners, the other connections people, church members, family, other friends?
Pre-sentence investigation report.
Correct.
Why did she not make a statement?
She wanted to reserve her right to make a statement before the court today, and she has a brief statement that she wants to read, Your Honor.
Okay.
And
all right. Ms. Hildebrandt? Go ahead.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally. One of the reasons I did not go to trial is that I did not want them to emotionally relive the experience which would have been detrimental to them. My hope and prayer is that they will heal and move forward to have beautiful lives. I am willing to submit to what the state feels would be an appropriate amount of time served to make retribution as an outcome.
And in answer to your question, Your Honor.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were just like, oh, how come you're not apologizing to the children, the family? Oh, it's a very short statement. I don't know. It was a very short and generic statement. Maybe she forgot that she was able to give a statement and then she just like wrote it on the fly just now. You don't think Jodi could be rehabilitated? I disagree with that. I think anyone can. There are some severe cases where there are repeat offenders where you're like, okay, it's fucked. And, you know, Jodi, it seems like she had the backing of the church to bolster her, whatever the fuck treatment she was doing. So she probably thought that she was doing the right thing. But in order, I don't know, Ruby Frankie, I think would probably have a better chance because she's only been sucked into the Jodi Hildebrandt world for what? I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, 4 years. Jodi Hildebrandt has been doing this for what? Over 20, 30 years. It's going to be a lot tougher with Jodi Hildebrandt. Yeah, it's going to be a lot tougher. I like to think that people can change. And I like to think that people want to change. But we'll see, you know, we'll see how their actions are while they are serving their sentence. We'll see how their actions are when they're released. We'll see how it goes. She was in homeschooling. Was she? I don't know anything about her in homeschooling. Her language is very interesting. Her niece and other victims won't believe one word out of her mouth. Yeah. From what I've heard, it was pretty fucking atrocious. And I've only heard from about 2, maybe 3 of her victims so far. In detail, 2 for sure. There was another victim that came out, I think, a couple weeks ago as well. But I mean, I thought it was really interesting that her own daughter cut her off. I don't know if her son did, though. I know she has a daughter and son. But her daughter, when she was a teenager, was like, I'm leaving. I'm going to live with dad. I'm not living with you anymore. And apparently they're like not on speaking terms. At least when the book came out, that's what she wrote. I don't know about the son, though. Because like for Jodi Hildebrandt, it's not just prison sentence. It's also that, I don't know. That's like a whole different segment of specialized therapy in order to unravel that, let's use her word, distortion that she's going through. I don't know, man. That's a lot of years to unravel. I don't know. She pulled the 2 kids. Oh, she pulled the 2 kids out of school. I thought the kids were already out of school, but I'm not too sure. Maybe I'm getting it all mixed up. I thought at some point, I thought Ruby was the one that pulled them out of school. Maybe not. I think the behavior is sociopathic. That doesn't change. Yeah, I think it's just because my knowledge of these women are very limited. I know about Ruby Frankie because of the YouTube video stuff that people always talk about. Jodi Hildebrandt, my knowledge of her is just from the 2 victims that have spoken about her. And it seems like some really fucked shit because this goes back 10, 15, 20 years. What's 1 to 15 years? It's 4 counts. So they are to serve their sentences for, sorry, let me sit up. Ooh, I don't know what happened. I slowly start slouching in the chair. It's not good for my back. The judge says they are going to serve their sentences consecutively, and it's going to be for four counts. So at a minimum, 4 years is what we're looking at. At a max, we were looking at 60 years, but they said that it caps at 30 years. So I'm assuming 4 to 30 years. And I think Ruby Frankie, I don't know. I don't think she's going to serve much, to be honest. I don't think she's going to serve much. But I mean, if she does 4 years minimum, I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. 4 years minimum. Am I? 4 years. Yeah, I guess I'm okay with that. The youngest daughter would knock on neighbor's door asking to play with the kids while they were in school. Yeah, I remember hearing about that as well. That the kids sometimes would just roam around the neighborhood while the other kids were like in school. You're right, Sarah. The sister's path would never be able to admit the things Ruby said. It gives power to the victim. That's something Jodi would never do. Admits wrongdoing. Well, the minimum that she would serve is 4 years, it seems. But after 4 years, it could just be she's released. Or they can maybe do like a mix of sentencing and parole, which is what they typically do, don't they? Where it's like, okay, like let's say you serve 4 years minimum, but then you're on parole for like 5 to 10 years, right? And typically, from my understanding, parole, it's like you have to check in with a parole officer. I don't know, maybe do some drug tests. Maybe you can't leave the state. I don't know. It depends. I'm not really quite sure. But what I want to know is when is the board of, what is it called? The Board of Pardons? When are we going to hear from them? That's what I want to know. You think 4 years is too little? 8 for Ruby? Life? No, Jodi's not going to get life. I don't think Jodi's going to touch. For this case, if it was a culmination of all the cases and all the accusations, you know, and those are true, then yeah, it could be a crap ton. But just for this case specifically, I'm going to be very honest. I think Jodi might get, I don't know, she might get 4 years too. I honestly don't think these women are going to get like more than 8 years. I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe Jodi, but I don't know. I don't think so. They refer to as community supervision. I can see Ruby getting in just like 2 years. I mean, best case scenario would be Kevin Frankie really steps it up as the father. Ruby serves her time and she really fucking changes. That's the best case scenario, because you want the children to have 2 parents that are functional, that, you know, you're going to continue having a relationship with them, right? I mean, if the children want to. I don't know if they would want to with Ruby Frankie, with the shit that they went through. But I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like there are kids out there who go through some really fucked shit with their parents. And then sometimes at the end of the day, you still want to have a relationship with them, you know? Like, let's say when you were a kid, your parents were extremely abusive. But then when you're like an adult, you're hoping that like, oh, maybe mom has changed. Maybe dad has changed, you know? Like, you want to have a relationship with them. And I get why. I know it's like, it's easy to write people off, but when it comes to like parents, that's tough. Like, I can write off friends easily. I can be like, you know what? Fuck you. I don't want to be with you. I'm done with you. I don't give a shit about you. But there's always something with my mom where I'm like, oh God, I hate her, but she's my mom. I want to have a relationship with her. She annoys the fuck out of me. You know, like I go back and forth with my mom a lot. So, it would be good for Ruby Frankie to rehabilitate, change, be remorseful, and yeah, be there for her children in the future. But if the children don't want her to be a part of their life, then that's her choice, right? There's already a line of people ready to testify against Jodi. I think Ruby is just like very reformable. I mean, it really depends. Some are willing to still talk to their parents. Some are like, nah, F you. Yeah, it really depends on how severe. Like, if your parents are still, if when you're an adult, right? If your parents are still kind of just like sucking the life and soul out of you, then yeah, I would just fucking cut them off or just set boundaries. Like with my mom, I think my mom's like, she knows, like, I don't know. It's different for my mom's generation, I guess. In her generation, there was no such thing as talking about feelings. There's no such thing as like really apologies. It was kind of like, you just kind of just go with it. And then you just, you know, sweep it under the rug. There's no addressing it or anything like that. So the boundaries that I set with my mom is that I just don't really speak to her very often. We'll do like holidays together sometimes, you know, like with my siblings. But I'm also very lucky that I have really fucking awesome siblings. And, you know, I feel like we're a unit against my mom sometimes, right? But yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I always thought that I was going to like cut off my mom. And then like I find years later, I'm like, oh, I kind of want a relationship with her. I don't know. It's a hard place to come back from in a parent/child relationship. Madagascar? Are you making that up? What do you guys think about Madagascar legalizing castration for sexual predators? Is that a thing? Leela says, Corgi, I have the same feeling with my mom. Now she's old and oh, really? She got sick. Now she's living with me and my husband. See, I don't think my mom would want to live with us. I don't know. It's really weird. I thought my mom would want to rekindle her relationship with her children, but sometimes I feel like she does, but sometimes I feel like she doesn't give a fuck. I don't know. It's like really weird. She's a weird person. We still don't get her. You believe Ruby's a sadist? She enjoys hurting people and she makes excuses on why they deserve it. Ruby, oh, there was this video that I wanted to watch with you guys that, I mean, this was many years ago, but oh my God, when I saw this, I was so, oh God, I was just so disgusted by it. You know, I think the issue with Ruby was, aside from the internet, I don't think people called her out. I felt like she probably had friends and family that didn't call her out for her shit. And that's why the way that she treated her kids went on for so long. And she posted on YouTube so comfortably. This is what I was talking about. This is what I found on Reddit a couple months ago. Oh my God, it was so sad. Sorry, do I need to have a Reddit account? Oh, wait, where's the video? Oh, this is the video.
You cannot just get into the cupboard and take yogurt and crackers. You can't come in the kitchen and take whatever you want, whenever you want. Are you hungry? Yeah. Are you a growing boy? Is that why you keep getting into the kitchen? Yeah. Look at me. I will feed you a very good lunch, but you have got to promise to stay out of the kitchen. Do you understand? Yeah. Lunch is in 1 hour. I think you're cute when you're sad. No.
I don't know. It was just shoving the camera in a 3-year-old's face. The kid is like standing there. She's like winking at the camera. And then she's like, I think it's cute when you're sad. Oh my God. And I think the kid just said no at the end. It was just, ugh. Like, oh, gross. Ugh. Yuck. Is there any other press conference? Is that it? Whew, guys. Look at my eyes. I rolled out of bed. You guys ever wake up in the middle of the night and then you can't go back to sleep? And then it's like an hour or two later and you're like, shit, the sun's coming out. And you're just like panicking. Hi, Katerina. It is up to the Board of Pardons. The judge said it was going to be consecutive, 4 counts. So we're looking at 4 years to 30 years because there's a cap at 30 years. And I guess the Board of Pardon will take the judge's recommendation and take it from there. We'll see. She enjoys being mean. She had a front row seat to their misery. That's why she found it easy to go along with Jodi. Because it seems like Ruby Frankie's level of emotional abuse, I think it was mostly probably emotional abuse, was like right here, right? But Jodi Hildebrandt took it from here to like all the way up here with the physical torment and stuff. I mean, we don't know if there was like physical torment behind the scenes, but you know, I haven't heard anything about that with the YouTube channel. The only thing I heard about with the YouTube channel was food manipulation. And it was like, oh, you know, if you don't do your chores, you won't get breakfast. I'm taking the door away. So like those are, I don't believe those were like illegal or anything like that. It's just fucking weird. It's just like, oh, that's odd. I think total denial, Lily. They don't want to change. They don't change like we want them to. Wait, sorry. I'm probably missing some of your chat up here. Your dad was horrible. You ran away 9 years later. You got back in contact. Not to be besties or even communicate, but so if something does happen, there is an open line of communication. Total denial. Yeah. Dude, the worst is when you try to talk to them and it's like denial, no accountability, no apologies. I don't know. When I try to talk to my mom, she has this like glazed look over her eye, like she's like fucking Krispy Kremes or something. And I'm like, okay, obviously anything I'm saying now is not getting to you. I don't know. It's like a really weird thing. Super weird. I can only compare this weirdly to graphic shows. Oh, Invincible. Oh my God, I love Invincible. One of my favorite TV shows out there. Having control of your family, it's like having control of their entrance into heaven. Yeah, I mean, I'm learning a lot about the LDS Church, just in general. There's a lot of things that I didn't know about. The tighter the leash, the more insured your spot. I see. That's like the weird like fuck thing too. The psychological abuse of that, where the children thought they deserved the punishment that they were getting from their parents. God, it's like so sad. She's also didn't allow doors on the bathrooms. Wait, I didn't hear about that. I have never understood the whole American thing about kids not having locks on the door, not having a room. I don't think that's an American thing. I know that like sometimes parents, if you have friends coming over, they expect you to leave the door open. Don't lock the door because you don't know what they're doing. But no, in America, we have locks on our doors. We have doors and stuff like that. I always thought it was just a joke to punish your kids and take their doors away. I know they did that in Freaky Friday, and I thought it was fucking hilarious. But I didn't know anyone, any of my friends or anything like that, that weren't allowed to lock their doors, especially for like a teenager, or having their door taken away. So I don't know. I can't, I've never heard of anyone here that should happen to them. I'm sure it happens, but none of my friends had that issue. Oh, toxic family members. Ew, why are you having lunch with them? Ugh. I just be cutting people off, man. I'm just like, no, thank you. I'm good. I am good. All right, y'all. Well, how are we feeling today? What are we thinking? I know we have a lot of back and forth on whether or not you guys think Jodi Hildebrandt, Ruby Frankie have any sense of contrition whatsoever. We'll wait to hear from the Board of Pardon, not parole, I guess. Oh, the crochet. Oh, Christine, I'm embarrassed. I haven't started yet. So I don't know if you guys saw, but I tried to do my research on crochet and I was so overwhelmed. There's like different types of yarn you can buy. There's different types of needles you can buy. And then there's like the tracker things and the stoppers, or I don't know what they're called. There's like all these little things you can buy. And I was just like, where do I start? So I just bought this expensive, this was like $35, but it came with everything. And there's a video that you can follow just so you can learn the basics. And so that's what I got. I haven't started yet because I was going to do this on my way to Vegas on a road trip. But then I was like, wait a second, I might get car sick. So, I mean, this comes with the yarn. It comes with like one basic crochet hook. There's a step-by-step video. It comes with plastic eyes, stuffing. And so I'm just going to start with this and we'll go from there. But if you guys have any recommendations, let me know. Oh, also, I was supposed to get my P.O. box. I forgot. Someone wanted to send me something for crochet stuff. Oh, gosh. Gigi, the crumbly. I watch a lot of those videos of my own. I was going to, but I was like, oh, I don't know. But for me, it would be covering the fighting between the lawyers. Oh, my goodness. Jennifer Crumbly's defense attorney versus the DAs. Oh my goodness. There was like, it was wild. And the judge is like a very chill judge. She doesn't really have a strong presence. And I felt like there was so much infighting happening with the defense attorney and the DA. And the judge was just kind of like trying to figure out how to be the referee between the two of them. Yeah, that one was wild. I was actually very surprised that they found Jennifer Crumbly guilty. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't sure if the jury was gonna vote guilty, but you know what? I think it's a good start to start to have parents to be held accountable for their children's actions, or not their actions, but you know, to make sure that you're not just going to willy-nilly purchase a gun for a child that's having these like Didn't he say he was hearing things? He was seeing things? I don't know. I thought it was pretty wild. But yeah, that case was like wild. And then we find out that Jennifer Crumbly was having an affair, and the guy that she was having an affair with went up there to testify. I don't know. Did you guys watch any of the Crumbly stuff? That was wild. I didn't know that the day that Ethan went to school and was drawing pictures of the gun and all those like disturbing shit, I didn't know that was the same day that the shooting happened. Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, how come the parents didn't take him away from school? I also was wondering, well, how come the school didn't say, hey, take your children out of here? This is like some really disturbing shit. Is the school going to be held accountable as well? The 9 Lives of Johnny Doe. Oh, I mean, we can watch. This is all that I've seen so far with Elaine. Who posted? I think someone posted in my Discord. Yes, Elaine comes out. I'm a little disappointed with Elaine. I thought Elaine was just going to, just do her own thing. Where is the Elaine? Shoot. Does anyone have the tweet for Elaine? Elaine. There was like a Twitter thing for Elaine. I forgot who posted it though. Was it on Vice? It might have been on Vice. How long is it going to be? Like an hour long? Dude, what Elaine said is so irritating. Hold on. Was it on Vice? Where was it? Does anyone have a link? It was a Vice TV. Oh, Vice TV. Is that different than regular Vice? Elaine. Oh, I found it. Elaine, what are you doing on this interview? Maybe this was filmed a year ago. Maybe this was filmed before Elaine was let go. I'm like, Elaine, what are you doing here? Let me see if we can try to zoom in. Oh, God, no. This one, I guess? All right. Elaine Brederhoff coming through.
He developed this fan base that just adores him unconditionally. They will blame whoever he might have done something wrong to. It's their fault. They asked for it. Well, Amber, what did you do to cause him to hit you? You must be the bad person here. And that's the way they thought.
Oh, whoops. Sorry, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to watch this without saying anything, and then I'm going to rewatch and say a lot of things. Sorry.
Blame whoever he might have done something wrong to. It's their fault. They asked for it. Well, Amber, what did you do to cause him to hit you? You must be the bad person here. And that's the way they thought. About 95% of the social media wasn't just anti-Amber, it was with a purpose to annihilate Amber. There's no way she could have survived this. There's no way anyone could have survived this.
I have a lot to say about the statement.
He developed this fan base.
I think Johnny does have a fan base that does love and adore him. However, where was that fan base back in 2016 when she came out with the TRO? The majority of the public, it seems, the majority of the news outlets, they supported Amber Heard all the fucking way. She showed up with that bruise. She got her TRO. They had their divorce, their settlement thing. Where was the Johnny Depp supporters? Because if the Johnny Depp supporters were there supporting him no matter what, if the same supporters were there from 2000, whenever this case happened, was it like 2022? Shit, when did the Depp v. Heard happen again? 2022, right? Wouldn't have the support been the same back in 2016? The people were on her side. They sided with Amber Heard. They sided with the female victim.
That just adores him unconditionally. They will blame whoever he might have done something wrong to. It's their fault. They asked for it.
And she might be talking about a very small percentage of people that feel this way, like 0.0001. I don't know, very small percentage of people.
Well, Amber, what did you do to cause him to hit you?
I don't remember anyone saying that. When we were watching the trial, when I was going through some of the comments in my videos, I don't remember people saying, Amber, what did you do to cause him to hit you? I don't remember anyone saying that. I have no idea what Elaine is talking about. I don't know if Elaine is just scrolling through Twitter or TikTok comments, but only choosing like the very rare comments that pop up. People weren't saying that.
You must be the bad person here.
No.
And that's the way they thought about.
A lot of people didn't even acknowledge that Johnny Depp hit Amber Heard at all because of all the incidents that we went through. A lot of it was very fucking inconsistent. I keep saying that there were two incidents where I thought she had the most evidence, but even with those two, I wasn't very convinced because there was so much conflicting statements. I thought she had the strongest one was the James Corden one, right? Where they were saying that like, oh, you know, there's pictures of the hair, there was the bed that was broken, blah, 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 blah. There's pictures from other people's phone. But then she showed up at the James Corden show and we're like, oh, where's the black guy and where's the broken nose? Huh? Like when the makeup artist was like, oh, her lip looks a little bit puffy. I was like, I think I might see that. But I think she claimed that she had a black eye and maybe a broken nose in that incident, right? Because she said that he headbutted her or something like that. I was like, okay, I know makeup can cover, but like there would be like some severe swelling. Like, I don't know. The lights are really good. The cameras are really good. You will still see something. But she went on there. She went on the show. She was talking and laughing. I feel like if your face was that busted up, your face would hurt so much. It would be hard to do all that. But the other incident where I thought she had pretty strong evidence was the one with the cell phone throwing incident. But however, there were so many inconsistencies with that. There were photos that were shown where the apartment wasn't as wrecked as what Amber Heard and her friend said. The police showed up. We saw them on the body cam. So whenever she had something that I was like, oh, like when I was reading the UK stuff, right? I was looking for these two incidents because I was like, oh, these two are pretty strong. But then when we went to the trial and we saw both sides and we saw the testimonies of all the other witnesses, that's when I was like, wait a second, hold on a second. Something is not right here. There's some really weird fucky shit. It really was. I think the reason why Amber Heard got so much hate, the reason why people went after her was because for years, people saw her as a victim. For years, people were like, oh, she's a victim of DV. Like this poor woman. She was with Johnny Depp. I thought Johnny Depp was supposed to be a good person, but behind the scenes, he was a piece of shit. For years, a lot of people believed that. It was when she came out and testified where we saw a lot of the holes in her story. It was when we heard audio recordings. People hated Amber Heard not because they loved Johnny Depp. People hated Amber Heard because of Amber Heard. And it wasn't because we were such fanatic fans of Johnny Depp that we loved him no matter what, that we fucking worshipped him. I think a lot of people were just like, like there are a core group of people that love Johnny Depp, but then there was also a broad amount of like people in the public that were just like, oh, we know him from like the Pirates Caribbean guy. But it was Amber Heard's actions that caused the vitriol, the hate, the criticisms. That's why they went after her. I don't know. The way that she's trying to misrepresent this, maybe because, she's trying to protect her reputation. I'm talking about Elaine Brennerhoff. Maybe Elaine Brennerhoff is trying to protect her reputation in case her future kids or grandchildren, maybe one day when they refer back to the Johnny Depp case, they'll see Elaine Brennerhoff on Vice and be like, oh, maybe what she's saying is true. Maybe the public just went after them for no reason. Maybe the public was just diehard Johnny Depp fans. Hi, lady. How are you doing today? How's it going? That's right. She was totally lying, became more and more apparent as the trial went on. Yes. Oh, I actually, hold on. I think the Australia incident too was when I was like, wasn't sure. But what Camille brought up was that the sexual abuse stuff didn't come to light until I think when Johnny Depp was suing her for defamation. It was as if every time when she was being called out for something or there was a lawsuit or something like that, a new story would pop up. There was like enhancers on enhancers on enhancers. So not only was Johnny Depp was someone that was emotionally, physically abusive, he was also sexually abusing her. He was also abusive towards their dogs. Like she tried to make Johnny Depp into like the abuse of like all things. It was crazy. So, I mean, am I going to watch this? I don't know. I don't know if I am. I haven't watched the Depp v. Heard Netflix either. I just didn't really care for it. I feel like it's so silly how Elaine Brennerhoff and maybe some other people are just representing what happened in the trial. They're saying that like, oh, it's all social media. Like, yeah, social media really fueled it all because I think it all started with the little makeup kit thing. I remember that makeup channel I forgot what it was called. When they saw that Elaine used that bruise kit thing, they were like, oh, well, that didn't even come out when Amber Heard had it back then. That came out years afterwards. That's when it like started, it like blew up a little bit on social media. And then from then on, it went from the makeup stuff to, I think we had some really good, really good testimonies from witnesses like Isaac Baruch, who was very, very likable on the stand. And Johnny Depp went up there. We got to hear from his side of the story. He seemed very, very genuine. And then we heard from Dr. Curry. Dr. Curry was when, I think, like, did Dr. Curry testify before or after Johnny Depp? I don't remember. But after Dr. Curry testified, a lot of things started making sense. Like, oh, this would explain Amber's behavior. But shit really hit the fan when she testified. Because I was like, we're at a point where things can make it 180. It's possible Amber Heard can go up there and testify, and we would totally understand and believe from her side of things. I think that was still possible. But when she went up there, she just reinforced everything that we thought that we heard from previous witnesses. I don't know. Crazy. I don't know. I don't like this mischaracterization that Elaine is giving. Maybe it's out of context, but I don't know. I doubt it. After the trial, you like Johnny even less? You didn't even watch it? What, the trial? Or after the trial, I like Johnny even more. I was like, oh, this guy seems like a super cool, chill person. Seems like he took care of his friends, took care of his family. He was dealing with this crazy person, still took care of her friends, still took care of her family. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think before we went into the trial, we were like, oh my God, we love Johnny Depp. We're diehard fans. I liked him in Pirates of the Caribbean, but that came out like 20 years ago? Anyways, I don't know. When is this Vice thing coming out? Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern. So 7 o'clock my time. Where does this even air? Is it like on Hulu or something? Did you guys watch the Fannie, what's her name? Fannie. She's a DA that's trying to prosecute Trump. Oh, Fannie Willis. Did you guys watch her testimony? Oh my God. Fannie Willis's testimony was very entertaining. Oh my Lord. I don't think we're going to watch it here, but I thought it was very entertaining. I posted it in the Discord. You liked it more after the trial? Yeah. He came off as very genuine. Because I remember we looked up whenever he would go to other shows and he would do the talks, he spoke exactly the same way. There was no fluffing. There was no flowering like with Amber Heard. He came off as very genuine. But, I had open ears. If Amber Heard had, evidence, had witnesses, if things were going to be consistent for her, it was just very inconsistent. It was all over the place. And then, you know what? Why people really hated Amber Heard also from the beginning, I think, was when they found out that she actually did not donate her divorce settlement. She went on like a TV show. I don't know how many multiple TV shows she went on where she went up there and said she donated her entirety of her divorce settlement. It was like 6 to 7 million to charity. And she got the yes queen. She got the clap, clap, clap. She got the recognition. And then we found out that there was a letter from Children's Hospital saying, hey, by the way, you said you were going to donate money. We still haven't really seen anything. Is the money coming? I think they may have gotten money, but it was sent from Johnny Depp because Johnny Depp was going to donate directly because Johnny knew what Amber Heard was probably up to. He was trying to donate directly, and then Amber Heard got pissed and was like, well, if he's going to donate directly, then he has to pay double. And then that's when we heard the bullshit with the donate and the pledge come out. Yep. So a lot of this was just Amber Heard's doing. It's possible that she could have been influenced by her team to initially do the whole TRO thing because she wanted to be protected, blah, blah, blah. But then, years and years and years, she was peddling this bullshit. She could have stopped at any time, but she didn't. She did it because she got fame from it. She got the recognition. I don't know. It's wild. It's crazy. Oh, you think it's a hit piece because Johnny's coming out with a new movie? Is it the Louis the 14th thing? Oh yeah, and the pictures. Oh, so bad. How there were the edited photos, but then you got the original photos. Boy. Mm-mm. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. I always thought at the end of the day, maybe Elaine didn't believe all this shit. You know, maybe she's just doing her lawyerly thing. But I think right now, I mean, it depends when this was filmed. I don't know when she filmed this. It could have been like a while back when she was still Amber Heard's attorney. I don't know. Or like I said, maybe she just wants to put it in the record and she wants to polish up her reputation. Deny until you die. Jodi and Winona. Isn't Winona married now? She got a feed tip here. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. All right, y'all. How are you guys doing today? So today we covered Ruby Frankie, Jodi Hildebrandt. We'll wait to hear from the Board of Pardons to see what their actual sentencing will be. I don't think it's going to be more than, I don't know. I don't know if we even hit 7 years, to be honest. The movie about a painter with Al Pacino. Oh, is it a different movie? That awful meeting. Oh yeah, the voice recordings were just so bad. The audio recordings. We got to see her true side in the audio recordings. Yeah, I don't know. If anything, the evidence showed, and even in the audio recordings, she admitted herself. Remember, she was like, I wasn't hitting you. I was punching you or something like that. I don't remember. Or like, I wasn't punching you. I was hitting you. Something like that. Where stuff like that would come out and people were like, wait a second. Have we been duped this entire time? Don't act like a baby. Yeah. I mean, we knew who the tormentor, we knew who the abuser was on those tapes. It was 100% sure. For sure it was her. Yeah, and then when Dr. Curry went up there and talked about how Amber Heard had, what was it again? It was like all rooted in, was it like abandonment issues or something like that? Oh, I didn't hit you, I punched you? Yeah. Oh, man. She probably thought that Johnny Depp wasn't going to defend himself. And then when he actually did, she was like, oh, shit, fuck. I have to do what I can to destroy his reputation. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for today. I'm trying to see if there is anything else this week. Murdoch stuff we're done. Anyone watching the Montgomery trial? Donna case management, that's been done. Oh, wait, there's a motion hearing for Hannah Reid today. Wait, no, sorry. No, I missed it. No, that already happened. Just kidding. Oh, Hannah Reid's trial. Is it starting tomorrow? That's involving Alec Baldwin. I have it on my schedule that it starts tomorrow. I want to hear the opening statements if it does. Borderline histrionic personality disorder. I actually took notes when Dr. Curry went up there to testify. I thought it was very, very intriguing, very interesting. I wonder if it's still in my notes, actually. When did the trial happen again? Was it 2021 or 2022? Right? Oh, here it is. Dr. Curry. She has a sophisticated way of minimizing personal problems, externalization of blame, inner hostility, attempting to be controlled, self-righteous, and deny the self-righteousness, judge others critically, high standards of moral value. She presents as non-judgmental and accepting, but she's really full of rage. She's needy of attention, acceptance, approval, socially very sophisticated, offers faults, but only the ones that people will take lightly and may relate to. Suppress denied anger. Hypersensitive of being slighted or feeling offended. A fear of abandonment. Overwhelming emotions. And then she talked about how she hit her friend Rocky. Yeah, I thought that was very, very interesting. I was like, damn, Dr. Curry. There were some things that she said that was reminiscent of me in my like teenage, early 20s. Why are you talking about Dr. Lewis? Oh yeah, I feel so sad for Dr. Curry. Yeah, she went through a lot. She went through a lot during and after the trial. It took a huge mental toll on her. Poor Dr. Curry. Oh, that's right. There is a Ferguson sentencing. That's going to be in 4 days. Oh yeah, I'm going to see you guys again. Wait, hold on. I have it for 24th, but 24th is on Saturday. What day is his sentencing? Is it on the 23rd? Yeah, I'll see you guys again this week then. So if Hannah Reid's trial is tomorrow, I want to watch the opening statements. Really? Adam Montgomery should be closing tomorrow. And then Chad Daybell might have his trial. Oh, it's in April. Just kidding. I'm getting ahead of myself. The state has already rested their case. Alec Baldwin better get a heavy sentence. I've only heard some stuff about that, so I'm not quite sure. I don't have a heavy opinion on it yet. So Hannah Reid is tomorrow? Okay, I want to listen to opening statements. So yeah, maybe I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll listen to opening statements in Hannah Reid's trial. That's in regards to the Alec Baldwin stuff. And then Paul Ferguson, which, I don't know. The Ferguson stuff is really, really, really sad. Because from what I've seen of Paul so far, I do think there may be some sort of disability there. I don't know. Like, I know what he did to his brother was atrocious, but there's something about Paul Ferguson where I have some sympathy for him. Especially having Shonda as your mom. Only up? No, shut up. You could buy the game for me and I won't play it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. We're going to end it. We have a new video that's up. It's in... What's the video? What did I do again? Oh, yeah. I wanted to do a transcript reading for the deposition of Christopher and Roberta Landry. But instead of doing that, I just made a video instead. There are some other transcripts that I haven't read yet. There's one with Gabby Petito's mom, which I thought had some very interesting information to see her perspective, how things went down on her end. And then also the deposition of the Landry's lawyer, Steve Bertolino. That was very contentious. Oh my goodness. So if you guys want to listen to what Roberta Landry and Christopher Landry, like essentially Brian called his family and was like, Gabby's gone. Gabby's gone. Gabby's gone. I need help. Can you please call an attorney? And the lawyer on the other side was like, well, how did you interpret that? And they're like, well, it could mean that she walked away. It could mean that, you know, they got into a dispute. Maybe he hit her and she wants to call the cops on him. Maybe that happened. Maybe she's still alive. And they're like, well, did it ever come across your mind that she might be dead? Oh, I mean, I don't know if that came across my mind. What do you mean you don't know if it came across your mind? You said that your son called you saying, Gabby's gone. I need help. I need a lawyer. Oh, man. Y'all got to watch the video. The video's out now. No, the doctor for Amber was Dr. Don Hughes. Yeah, Dr. Hughes. Who is Robert Tells again? I don't remember who that is. Bye, Braid. Yeah, I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. And I will try to, I'll get the address of my P.O. box and I'll post it somewhere. But thank you so much. I hope you guys have a good one. And I will possibly see you guys all tomorrow. And then on Twitch, I think on Twitch,